Chapter 360. Ah! The roar of the Tianluo Masha shook the heavens. At the same time, in the secret underground passage, Yang Dingtian and Yang Yan's eyes lit up. Kill! The seven of them shouted. With a sharp sword in hand, he suddenly rushed out of the secret passage. Pa! With a loud bang, the huge bed instantly exploded, shattering into pieces. Yang Dingtian, Yang Yan, and the rest of the seven shot out like shooting stars. 7 sharp swords pierced into the back of Tianluo Masha like lightning. Tianluo Mo Sha, who was at its climax, was startled. At this moment, it was too late to react. The only thing he could do was to circulate all the profound qi in his body and condense it on his skin, instantly making his body invulnerable for a short period of time. Blackstone transformation! Tianluo Masha let out a loud roar. Suddenly, the skin all over his body condensed and turned black, turning into the outer shell of the Millennium Supper. It was incomparably sturdy and nearly indestructible. Dang 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 dang! The sharp swords of the 7 people fiercely stabbed into the back of the Tianluo Masha. However, it was almost impossible to pierce through. Instead, the blade of the sword suddenly bent and burst into sparks. Only Yang Dingtian's sword pierced the back of the Tianluo Masha, but it was only able to penetrate less than an inch before it was locked by an extremely powerful force, unable to go any further. This heavenly sifting Masha was indeed a 9-star revered martial artist. This Blackstone transformation was indeed a heaven-defying technique. It could actually make his entire body invulnerable for a short period of time. After blocking the sharp swords of the 7 people, Tianluo Masha suddenly turned around. Its ugly and terrifying face revealed an incomparably ferocious gaze as it stared fixedly at Yang Dingtian and the others. Its eyes revealed the blood-red color of a wild beast, as if it wanted to tear all 8 of them into pieces. Yang Yan and the others were shocked. They really didn't expect that the 7 of them attacking together, and under the circumstances where Tianluo Masha was completely unprepared, they still couldn't kill him. Next, they would have to face the counterattack of the Tianluo Masha. The counterattack of a 9-star revered martial artist was obviously very shocking. Yang Dingtian's heart trembled, because with Yarao here, he naturally wouldn't be in danger. But Yarao's strength couldn't be exposed now. Once she exposed her strength, then she would have no chance to win against Qin Huayu. Yarao, this secret weapon, could only be exposed when fighting against the master-level expert beside Qin Huayu, otherwise Yang Dingtian's plan would be completely wasted. Then, Yang Dingtian looked at the ugly face of Tianluo Masha, and his eyes narrowed. It was clear that Yang Dingtian's soul sword was close to being the number 1 sword in the world. It was completely indestructible. However, Yang Dingtian's xianqi wasn't strong enough when facing the Sky Luo Masha, so it was forcibly locked down by the Sky Luo Masha's xianqi. With the world's number 1 soul sword and the heaven and earth mystic flame, I don't believe that I can't pierce through. In an instant, Yang Dingtian condensed the 1,000,000 spirit demon flame to the extreme. Then, he focused all the terrifying heat on the tip of the soul sword. Instantly, the temperature at the tip of Yang Dingtian's soul sword reached a terrifying level. It could completely melt everything. If it wasn't for the fact that Yang Dingtian's sword was close to the emperor level, if it was any other sword, it would have been vaporized long ago. The soul sword with a temperature of hundreds of thousands of degrees suddenly became incomparably destructive. Tianluo Masha was shocked. Then, he realized to his horror that his xianqi was completely unable to lock down the other party's sword. This was because the Blackstone transformation was a heaven-defying and special cultivation technique. When using this cultivation technique, all the xianqi had to be condensed on the surface of the skin, making the entire body impenetrable. However, the entire person could only be in a completely defensive state, and couldn't provide any xianqi to attack. Therefore, Tianluo Masha could only frantically continue to inject xianqi into the Blackstone transformation, desperately blocking Yang Dingtian's soul sword. However, the soul sword combined with the 1,000,000 spirit demon flame was too heaven-defying. It directly melted everything around it. Then, Yang Dingtian's soul sword was like a hot knife cutting through lard. It directly pierced in and burned everything around it into charcoal. In an instant, the blackstone transformation on Tianluo Masha's back was completely destroyed. Hiss, hiss, hiss! Yan Yan and the other 6 people's sharp swords suddenly pierced into Tianluo Masha's back. Tianluo Masha let out a beast-like howl. Then, his huge eyes began to fill with blood and began to turn red. Boom! Then, his entire body began to burn. Die! Tianluo Masha let out a loud roar and instantly removed the blackstone transformation. He condensed all the xianqi in his right palm and then fiercely slashed at Yang Dingtian and the others. Bang! In an instant, Tianluo Masha's huge back suddenly exploded into a mass of flesh and blood. Then, his body suddenly broke free from the 7 people's swords. Whoosh! His heavily injured body spurted out a terrifying blood mist, turned into a black shadow, smashed through all the walls, and instantly disappeared without a trace. And the palm before he ran, fiercely struck Yang Dingtian and the other 7 people. It didn't directly hit, but only a palm strike in the air. Boom! There was a loud noise. The entire bed was turned into dust. The front wall was turned into dust. Wherever the palm wind reached, everything within 100 meters was turned into dust. Yang Dingtian and the other 7 people were all like straws. All of them were sent flying dozens of meters and fiercely crashed into the wall. Their bodies fiercely crashed into the wall, directly causing the wall of the Mist Treasure Pavilion to collapse. After falling to the ground, Yang Dingtian immediately spurted out a mouthful of blood. Then Yang Jing, Yang Yan, Yan Bieli, Madame Shimin, and Zhao Liao all spurted out a mouthful of blood. Among them, Zhao Liao's beautiful face was deathly pale, almost without any trace of blood. Although Yang Dingtian's cultivation was the lowest among them, his resistance to attacks was the strongest, so his injuries were the lightest. And Yang Hongyi, who was played by Yao Rao, was currently unconscious. Blood was flowing from her nose and mouth, and it was unknown whether she was alive or dead, because she was playing the role of a martial ancestor. Although she didn't directly face Tianluo Masha's palm wind, she still suffered a destructive blow. Therefore, Yao Rao was very dedicated to playing the role of a martial ancestor. Yang Dingtian hurriedly took out a few elixirs and gave them to Madame Shimin, Zhao Liao, himself, and Yao Rao. Of course, Yao Rao's elixir was only an ordinary one. The remaining 3 were sacred water elixirs. Then, they immediately sat down to adjust their breathing. As for Yang Hongyi, who was played by Yao Rao, her breathing gradually recovered, as if she had just returned from the gates of hell. Yang Dingtian and Yang Yan looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. This Tianluo Masha's strength was truly frightening. 6 revered martial ancestors and 1 martial ancestor killed 1 Tianluo Masha. Moreover, when he was at his climax, when he was defenseless, they actually didn't succeed. He actually managed to escape by cutting off his tail, and that palm strike before he escaped injured all 7 of them. Yan Yan looked at Yao Rao, who was lying motionless on the ground, and asked, "Is she all right?" Yang Dingtian stepped forward and stretched out his hand to check her breathing. Her life was saved, but her cultivation was completely destroyed. Then, Yang Dingtian tore a hole in her clothes where her qi was. Countless cracks appeared on her smooth and flat abdomen. This meant that her qi was destroyed. Yang Yan glanced at the cracks on Yang Hongyi's qi, then wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. "I didn't expect that we still couldn't kill Tianluo Masha under such circumstances. He's not even a martial ancestor yet, but he's already so terrifying?" Yang Dingtian took out 3 8th-grade divine origin pills and handed them to Yang Yan. He cut off his tail to survive, and almost half of his back exploded. His injuries are very serious, and his cultivation must have been greatly damaged. If we chase after him, we can definitely kill him. Otherwise, there's no need for him to escape. Yang Yan took the pills from Yang Dingtian and distributed them to Yang Jing and Yang Dingtian. He then swallowed them, as if he wasn't worried that Yang Dingtian had poisoned them. "What should we do next?" Yang Jing asked. Yang Dingtian replied, "After a short rest, we'll destroy the city gates. Let the 20,000 soldiers follow the original plan and kill their way into Rose Villa. Then, the 6 of us will continue to chase after Tianluo Masha. Yang Jing didn't agree, but looked at Yang Yan instead. Yang Yan nodded. Follow Yang Dingtian's instructions. Yang Jing said. Then you guys rest here. I'll go and cut down the supporting stone pillars below the city gates. Once the city gates collapse, immediately release a signal flare for the army to attack Rose Villa. Yang Dingtian nodded. Yang Jing took the sword and returned to the secret passage, jumping down. Yang Dingtian and the rest closed their eyes and adjusted their breathing, waiting for the sound of the city gates collapsing. Just 10 minutes later. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud sound, and the ground trembled as if there was an earthquake. Yang Dingtian opened his eyes and looked out of the window. He saw the huge city gates 1,000 meters away suddenly collapsing. Underground, it was as if an incomparably huge mouth had opened. The huge city gates made of stone immediately broke, and the hundreds of people on top fell down and were crushed into meat paste by the huge rocks. Then, the only entrance to Rose Villa, the huge city gates completely sank into the ground and became a flat land, disappearing in front of everyone. Yang Yan and Yang Dingtian took out the signal flare from their arms and pulled it out. Whoosh, whoosh. 1 red and 1 blue signal flare, 2 signal flare, flew straight into the sky. Bang! Bang! Then, it suddenly exploded in the air, bursting out 2 huge fireworks. Suddenly, the Cloud Sky City's army camp a few thousand meters away lit up with countless torches. The warriors who were sleeping in their clothes got up one after another and gathered at the fastest speed. Kill! Then, there was a loud roar. Suddenly, the sound of drums shook the sky. The entire camp was brightly lit. Countless troops, under the command of their commanding officers, charged towards the Rose Villa like a tide. At this moment Yang Jing jumped out from the secret passage. Go, chase after Tianluo Masha. Following Yang Yan's order, everyone jumped up from the ground and flew out of the treasure mist pavilion to chase after Tianluo Masha. As for Yang Hongyi, who was pretending to be dead or alive, she was carried on Madame Ximen's back. Next, Yang Dingtian and Yang Yan almost searched the entire Rose Villa, but they could not find Tianluo Masha. They did not know where he was hiding. They captured many of the middle and high-level barbarian warriors and asked about Tianluo Masha's whereabouts, but they did not get any answers. Moreover, Li Zhongjian and the others from Rose Villa were also missing. At this moment, Cloud Sky City's 20,000 troops had already attacked the entrance of Rose Villa. Here, there were no solid walls blocking them, and the entire entrance was dozens of meters wide, enough for the army to rush in. But when the army rushed in, flesh and blood flew everywhere, and corpses soared into the sky. Cloud Sky City's experts continued to rush in, but in a short period of time, they were all turned into incomplete corpses. After a few minutes of killing, Cloud Sky City's army had hundreds of people lying on the ground. The 20,000 troops stopped in their tracks. All the troops crowded at the entrance, not daring to take another step forward. Yang Dingtian flew into the air and saw clearly. It turned out that there were more than 100 barbarian experts at the entrance of the villa. These barbarian experts were all like giants. They wore thick armor and held large sabers that were 1 to 2 meters long. Leading them were 2 martial honorable level elders from the Sunset Mountain range. The rest were martial ancestor level experts. The ones at the edge were at least high-level martial mystic level experts. It could be said that the barbarians had placed all their elites at the entrance. It was no wonder that they could stop the attack of Cloud Sky City's 20,000 troops. They had also turned this entrance into a death zone. Yang Dingtian said to Yang Yan, "Great Elder, most of the barbarian experts are at the entrance. Let's go kill them and let the army enter the villa." Yang Yan nodded. Then Yang Dingtian, Yang Yan, and the rest of the 6 flapped their mystic chi wings and glided towards the entrance of the city. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Yang Dingtian and the rest were very fast. They rushed to the entrance in an instant. The barbarian experts at the entrance were shocked when they saw Yang Dingtian. A martial honorable level elder saw Yang Dingtian and Zhao Liao and said angrily, Jiao Liao, are you going to kill your fellow countrymen? Fellow countrymen? You are all my enemies, Jiao Liao said coldly. Martial ancestor level and above, turn around, the elder ordered. Suddenly, the 30 over martial ancestor level experts and the 2 martial honorable level elders all turned around and faced Yang Dingtian. Bang bang bang. Like a comet hitting the earth, Yang Dingtian, Yang Yan, and the rest charged forward. The barbarian experts raised their giant swords and sabers and slashed towards Yang Dingtian and the others. Suddenly Yang Dingtian's eyes lit up. Dozens of sabers and swords appeared like a forest. Yang Dingtian's opponent was a martial honorable level elder. The golden soul sword in his hand was aimed at the martial honorable level barbarian elder's giant sword and slashed fiercely. Clang! There was no fire, and there was not even a loud collision sound. The martial honorable level barbarian elder's giant sword flew out as if it was made of clay. Boom! Then, the soul sword in Yang Dingtian's hand burned with mystic fire and slashed towards the barbarian elder's head. Ah! The martial honorable level barbarian elder roared and slashed out with his palms at Yang Dingtian. He wanted to use his mystic chi to shake Yang Dingtian away. Bang! Yang Dingtian's soul sword fiercely slashed at the opponent's mystic chi energy. There was a loud sound and a burst of light. The martial honorable level barbarian elder was sent flying like a straw and spat out a mouthful of blood. Die! Yang Dingtian pounced fiercely, and the soul sword in his hand continued to slash down fiercely. Puff! A rain of blood. The martial honorable level barbarian elder was cut in half by Yang Dingtian in the air. Blood spurted out wildly, and he died without even having time to scream. At the same time, Yan Yan and Yang Jing worked together to cut the other martial honorable level barbarian elder into 2 pieces. At this time, they were looking at Yang Dingtian with a trace of surprise in their eyes. This Yang Dingtian was at most a 2-star martial honorable. And this barbarian elder was a 1-star martial honorable, only 1 star lower than Yang Dingtian. Under normal circumstances, although he was not a match for Yang Dingtian, he would at least be defeated after 100 moves. He did not expect to be killed in an instant without any resistance. In front of opponents of the same level, Yang Dingtian had an absolute advantage. At this moment, Jiao Liao and Madame Shimin were like tigers in a flock of sheep as they rushed into the 30 martial ancestor level barbarian experts. In an instant, it was a massacre and blood splattered everywhere. Any martial honorable had an absolute advantage in front of a martial ancestor. Therefore, in a short period of time, nearly 10 martial ancestor level barbarian experts were killed by Shimin Wuren and Jiao Liao. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian, Yang Yan, Yang Jing and Yan Bieli rushed in. Swish, 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 swish. Saber light and sword shadows flashed. Blood rushed to the sky and limbs flew everywhere. In a short period of 10 seconds, hundreds of barbarian experts were killed cleanly. The elite defensive line that blocked the 20,000-strong army was reduced to nothing in an instant. Yang Dingtian leaped into the sky and ordered loudly. Rush in and kill them all. Don't leave a single barbarian alive! Yang Dingtian did not have any intention of capturing these barbarian warriors. Every single one of these brute tribe warriors had a blood debt on them. Every single one of them deserved to die. Originally, the army of Cloud Sky City had already rushed in. However, after Yang Dingtian gave the order, the army stopped. The leader was the commander of Yang Dingtian's personal army, Yang Zhu, who sneered at Yang Dingtian. It was as if he was mocking Yang Dingtian for overestimating himself and trying to command them. As for the feudal lords of Cloud Sky City, they turned their heads to the side and ignored Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian looked at Yang Zhu coldly and said, "Did you not hear my order?" Yang Zhu sneered. "Sorry, I only listened to Grand Elder Yang Yan's orders." Yang Dingtian's gaze was like lightning as he looked at Yang Yan. Yang Yan's expression turned cold. "Did you not hear the city lord's order? Rush in and kill all the barbarians." "Yes." Yang Zhu and the other feudal lords shouted in unison. It was a world of difference from when Yang Dingtian's orders were ignored. Yang Dingtian continued. In addition, you must not offend Rose Villa. If you rob or humiliate a woman, you will be beheaded in public. Do you understand? Yang Zhu and the feudal vassals of the Cloud Heaven City didn't bother about Yang Dingtian, and immediately rushed in. 3 hours later, the battle ended. All the barbarian warriors were killed and not a single captive was left. When Yang Dingtian saw that the barbarians had piled up the heads of the citizens of Cloud Heaven City, there were a few thousand heads piled up like a small mountain. Yang Dingtian was furious. Behead all the barbarian warriors and hang them at the border between Sunset Mountains and Cloud Sky City, Yang Dingtian ordered. However, no one responded. Yang Dingtian's expression turned cold as he walked into the Rose Villa's meeting hall. Yang Yan, Yang Jing, Yan Bieli, Yang Zhu, the feudal lords of Cloud Sky City, and the observers of the Tiando League, a total of 200 people, all entered the main hall. The battle ended and all the barbarian warriors were killed. Thus, Yang Yan and Yang Dingtian's temporary cooperation had ended. Next, it was a life and death struggle between the two sides. After entering the main hall, Yang Dingtian immediately walked to the highest position and sat down without hesitation. Yan Yan and the others also found a place to sit. The observers of the Tiando League also found a place to sit. Zhao Liao stood behind Yang Dingtian, while Madame Yang Dingtian sat in the lower left corner. Yang Dingtian looked at Yang Zhu and said, Yang Zhu, didn't you hear my previous order? What order? Yang Zhu asked coldly. I said that we must not offend the people of Rose Villa. However, your Yang clan's personal army killed dozens of people of Rose Villa and humiliated dozens of women. How should you punish them? Yang Dingtian said coldly. Yang Zhu said coldly. They are no longer people of Rose Villa. They abandoned themselves and served the barbarians. We brothers fought a bitter battle, so what's wrong with using them to vent our anger? My lords, don't you think so? That's right. The feudal lords of Cloud Sky City laughed loudly. City Lord Yang Dingtian, don't meddle in other people's business. Following that, the 100 over people present mocked and criticized Yang Dingtian loudly. Presumptuous! Yang Dingtian roared and stood up abruptly. He pointed at Yang Zhu and shouted. Yang Zhu knowingly broke the law and condoned the Yang clan's personal army to rape and pillage. Drag him out and behead him. All the Yang clan's personal army to rape and pillage, behead them all. Once these words were spoken, everyone was shocked, and there was complete silence. The Yang clan's personal army had more than 1,000 people, and there were 100 or 200 people who participated in the kidnapping and pillaging. They did this not entirely out of selfishness, but to teach Yang Dingtian a lesson. Yang Dingtian had ordered them not to pillage and humiliate women, so they just had to do it. The Yang clan's personal army was willing to do anything that went against Yang Dingtian. However, no one expected that Yang Dingtian would actually give the order to kill all the Yang clan's personal army that had committed crimes. One had to know that there were hundreds of them. Was Yang Dingtian crazy? One had to know that among the nearly 20,000 troops present, no one obeyed his orders. Therefore, after Yang Dingtian's words fell, the scene was silent. Pfft. Suddenly Yang Zhu burst into laughter. Then, his face turned cold, and he said coldly, City Lord Yang Dingtian, throughout the entire war, our Yang clan's personal army had always been on the front line and had outstanding military achievements. Not only did you not reward us, but you want to kill us all. Are you still our city lord? Are you so impatient to get rid of the donkey after it has outlived its usefulness and eliminate your dissidents? Then Yang Zhu directly knelt in front of Yan Yan, in front of the Tiando League's observers, and said loudly, Great Elder, lords of the Tiando League, we don't want a city lord like this. We beg the Tiando League and the Council of Elders to immediately dismiss Yang Dingtian. At the same time, the Yang clan's personal army officers behind Yang Zhu also knelt down neatly. Then, more than 100 feudal lords of Cloud Sky City also knelt down. Yang Dingtian colluded with the barbarian woman, Zhao Liao, and offended the Sunset Mountains, causing a disaster. He caused the barbarian army to invade Cloud Sky City's territory and killed countless of our people. All of this was caused by Yang Dingtian's personal vendetta. We were selfless and led the territory's troops to eliminate the barbarian army. Who would have thought that Yang Dingtian would be so shameless and not have the slightest bit of gratitude in his heart? Instead, he wanted to kill us. We don't want a city lord like this. We begged the Tiando League Northwest Branch and the Council of Elders of Cloud Sky City to immediately dismiss Yang Dingtian from his position as city lord. The person who knelt down and called for the dismissal of Yang Dingtian from his position as city lord was Yun Tianhe, the third most powerful force in Cloud Sky City's territory, Lane Valley's Valley Master. This person looked elegant, but he was very scheming. After Yang Dingtian won the city lord's grand duel, he was the most diligent person in colluding with the feudal lords to oppose Yang Dingtian. Later, when Dong Fang Bingling personally came to Cloud Sky City to support Yang Dingtian, he secretly sent a messenger to express his goodwill. At this time, he was the first to jump out and step on Yang Dingtian. Following his words, all the feudal lords said in unison, "We beg the Tiando League and the Council of Elders to immediately dismiss Yang Dingtian from his position as city lord." At this time, Yang Dingtian was actually being pushed down by everyone. However, their actions didn't make Yang Yan happy. Yang Yan wanted Yang Dingtian dead, not just to abdicate. In fact, even if all the feudal lords in Cloud Sky City rebelled, the Yang family's personal army rebelled, and even the Council of Elders of Cloud Sky City opposed, they still wouldn't be able to oust Yang Dingtian from his position as city lord. The only power that had the power to oust Yang Dingtian was the Tiando League. Moreover, it was the Tiando League headquarters, not the Northwest branch of the Tiando League. Only when the Yinyang School and the Black Heaven sect spoke out for Yang Dingtian to step down would the Council of Elders of Cloud Sky City have the power to begin the process of removing Yang Dingtian from his position. At this time, the Yang family's personal army and the feudal lords of Cloud Sky City had formed an alliance to try and oust Yang Dingtian from his position after the battle. It was completely daydreaming. Not to mention, most of the basic warriors in the 20,000-strong army supported Yang Dingtian. Even among the dozens of Tiando League observers present, many of them stood on Yang Dingtian's side because of Dong Fang Bingling. As expected, Yang Yan and the rest didn't say anything. The leader of the Tiando League observers said coldly, "Impudent! How can the position of Cloud Sky City's city lord be abolished by you? Are you trying to rebel?" Yang Yan stood up abruptly and stared at Yang Zhu and Sha Patian. He said sternly, "What are you doing? Are you trying to rebel? Leave immediately and get out of here. And all of you, get up." Then Yang Yan pointed at the other feudal lords kneeling on the ground and shouted. Once Yang Yan was angry, the Tiando League observers were also angry. Instantly, all the feudal lords present were embarrassed. Yang Zhu and Sha Patian looked at Yang Dingtian and sneered. They stood up and walked out. "Wait!" Yang Dingtian slowly walked towards Yang Zhu. "Do you have anything else to say?" Yang Zhu and Sha Patian laughed disdainfully. "Sha Patian, you are a feudal lord. I have no right to do anything to you. You can leave now." Yang Dingtian stared at Yang Zhu and said coldly, "But Yang Zhu, you are a high-ranking military official of Cloud Sky City. You actually want to oust the city lord? Is this rebellion? Do you know? Is that so?" Yang Zhu sneered. "What is the crime of rebellion? Do you know?" Yang Dingtian said. "Rebellion is a crime punishable by death." Yang Zhu's voice was very low. Only Yang Dingtian could hear him. He sneered and said, "But so what? Can you find a single person here to obey your orders? I think you don't need to be a city lord like this. All right, if you want to show off, I won't accompany you. I'm going to drink with my brothers and play with those women in Rose Villa." After saying this, Yang Zhu turned and left. He was clear about Yang Yan's plan to get rid of Yang Dingtian. Therefore, he had already treated Yang Dingtian as a dead man. Looking at Yang Zhu's back and the sneer on his face, Yang Dingtian directly pulled out his golden soul sword. Yang Yan said in shock. Yang Dingtian, stop! However, it was too late. Yang Dingtian's sword slashed out like lightning. Yang Zhu's head flew into the sky with a sneer. The speed at which Yang Dingtian chopped off his head was so fast that Yang Zhu was still able to make a horrified expression when his head was chopped off. Yang Zhu rebelled. Execute him on the spot! Yang Dingtian caught Yang Zhu's severed head and raised it high. He shouted, all the conspirators of the Yang clan's personal army will be executed! Swish, 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 swish. Immediately, Yang Jing and Yan Bieli pulled out their swords. Sha Patian of the Iron Sword sect also pulled out his sword. Nearly 100 Cloud Heaven City's feudal vassals and military officials drew their swords and instantly surrounded Yang Dingtian. All the sharp swords were pointed at Yang Dingtian. Everyone looked at Yang Yan. As long as he gave the order, they would immediately rush up and tear Yang Dingtian into pieces. Yang Yan's eyes were cold as he stared at Yang Dingtian's severed head. The muscles on his face twitched. The sharp sword in his hand was slowly pulled out. The battle between both parties was about to start. Chapter 361. Why? Are you rebelling? Suddenly, the Tiando League's observer stood up and said coldly, you can either kill all of us or wait for me to return to the Tiando League headquarters and expel Cloud Heaven City from the Tiando League. Then, form an alliance and annihilate all of you! Instantly, the entire place fell into silence. The situation that was like surging lava froze in an instant. Of all the forces in the entire Primal Chaos continent, unless it was an ambitious giant like the Northwest Qin City, no one dared to offend the Tiando League's observer. The muscles on Yang Yan's face twitched as he pulled out his sword and shouted, are you rebelling? Are you going against your superiors? Then kill me first! After he finished speaking, Yang Yan held his sword and walked in front of Yang Dingtian. Then Madame Shimin, Jiao Liao, Yan Bieli, Yang Jing, Zui Boning, Rinduansung, and the rest of Cloud Heaven City's elders all held their swords and protected Yang Dingtian in the middle. From the looks of it, they were a group of people united as one. Still not putting down your weapons? Yang Yan shouted. Instantly, the 100 people present all sheathed their swords. Still not kneeling down and asking for punishment from the city lord? Yang Yan shouted. However, no one knelt down. All the vassals looked up at the sky in an unyielding manner. Hee hee! Suddenly, Iron Sword Sex Sha Patian said, Great Elder, and all the lords of the Tiando League. We don't dare to rebel against our superiors, but we can't kneel down and support this bullshit city lord either. The Tiando League can't chop off our heads just because we don't kneel, right? Although Sha Patian insulted Yang Dingtian, the Tiando League's observer couldn't do anything about it. Who asked you, the city lord of Cloud Heaven City, to not have enough prestige to intimidate your subordinates? If the Tiando League had to stand up for you, then wouldn't the Tiando League have to feed you and change your diapers? Immediately, the Heavenly Law Alliance's observer returned to his seat and closed his eyes to rest. City Lord, these people are rude. Please don't lower yourself to their level. Yang Dingtian bowed to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian smiled faintly and said, Of course I won't lower myself to their level. But as I said earlier, all those who participated in the plundering will be executed. Now, beheading Yang Zhu alone was far from enough. Capture the rest of them and punish them according to the law. Give the citizens of Cloud Sky City an explanation. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expression changed. Was Yang Dingtian crazy? Just now, everyone was trying to get you to step down. Fortunately, the Tiando League's observers stopped them. I hope that after returning to Cloud Sky City, you can make a trip to the disciplinary pavilion and explain everything clearly. This group of people was completely stirring shit up. Yang Dingtian wanted to behead the Yang Consortium's personal army. They just wanted to splash the shit on Yang Dingtian. They didn't really want to convict Yang Dingtian of any crime. They just wanted to disgust him. Yang Dingtian looked at Yang Yan and said, Grand Elder, a portion of the Yang Consortium's personal army committed the crime of plundering. How do you think we should deal with them? Yan Yan said coldly. City Lord, you killed Yang Zhu without permission, which is already a huge taboo. What else do you want? For a moment, the two of them faced each other coldly and didn't back down. Yang Jing snorted and let out a sneer. He was mocking Yang Dingtian. He obviously didn't have a single soldier, but he was still putting on airs. Right at this moment, a person suddenly rushed in and shouted, "Report!" Yan Yan's expression relaxed. He didn't want to have a blank confrontation with Yang Dingtian. He wanted to kill Yang Dingtian and not lose face. Speak, Yang Yan said. That person said, "We have found Tianluo Mo Sha and his 2 elders. Yan Yan asked with delight. Where? In a cave 30 miles away. That person replied. Only Tianluo Mo Sha and his 2 elders? Yan Yan asked. Also Manor Master Li Zhongjian, his wife, and his 2 sons. They were all taken hostage by Tianluo Mo Sha. That person said. One of our patrols discovered them and didn't dare to act rashly. The captain watched from afar and sent me to report. You did well. Yang Yan said. Men, reward him with 10 gold coins. Thank you, Grand Elder. That person said. Yang Yan immediately looked at Yang Dingtian and said, City Lord, evil must be done. Not to mention that Tianluo Mo Sha's blood debt, if he escapes, we won't be able to end this battle perfectly. For Li Zhongjian's sake, we must save him. After all, Li Zhongjian is the only one who knelt down and pledged loyalty to you. Grand Elder, what do you think? Yang Dingtian asked. Yang Yan said, Tianluo Mo Sha is seriously injured and his cultivation must have decreased greatly. His 2 elders are only ordinary martial saints. I suggest that you lead all the elders of Cloud Sky City to kill Tianluo Mo Sha and save Li Zhongjian and his family. When Yang Yan said this, his gaze was fixed on Yang Dingtian. The 100 or so marquises also stared at Yang Dingtian. Although they didn't know the story behind this, they could instinctively feel a killing intent and danger. Yang Dingtian also stared at Yang Yan. Without a doubt, the final battle between him and Yang Yan had arrived. Yang Dingtian asked the messenger. The cave 30 li away, is it an ordinary cave? What's its name? Sunset Cave Abode. The messenger said. Sunset! Sun is sun! Sunset Cave Abode, wouldn't that be where Yang Dingtian would die? Just like the romance of the 3 kingdoms, Chick Feng died at the falling phoenix slope. Madame Shimen pulled Yang Dingtian's sleeve, her gaze serious. Without a doubt, this trip to the so-called Sunset Cave Abode, between Yang Dingtian and Yang Yan, only one of them could return alive. Furthermore, no matter who died there, it could be said that they died in the hands of Tianluo Mo Sha, and there wouldn't be any responsibility. All right. Yang Dingtian nodded at Yang Yan and said loudly, All the elders present, follow me to the Sunset Cave Abode. We will kill Tianluo Mo Sha and save Li Zhongjian. Yes. Everyone present shouted in unison, and it was like thunder, filled with determination. Then, Yang Dingtian took the lead while Madame Shimen, Jiao Liao, Yan Yan, Yang Jing, Yan Bieli, Zui Boning, and Ren Duansang followed closely behind. They left the main hall and mounted their horses. The group quickly galloped towards the Sunset Cave Abode that was 30 li away. At this moment, the leading observer of the Tiando League suddenly opened his eyes and sighed. He said to the observer beside him, Yang Dingtian is doomed. The observer beside him said, If he wants to court death, no one can stop him. We are not related to him. We just have to do our duty. The Northwest Qin city is not that easy to offend. After all, the Yinyang school is too far away. The leading observer nodded helplessly and closed his eyes again. The distance of 30 li was very short. Yang Dingtian and the rest arrived quickly. They also saw the patrolling cavalry that discovered Tianluo Mo Sha. All of you, leave this place immediately. Yang Yan ordered. Yes. The leader of the patrolling cavalry led his men and left quickly. Yang Dingtian and the rest continued to gallop and arrived at the bottom of a mountain. The so-called Sunset Cave Abode was a few hundred meters above the mountain. Yang Dingtian, the moment has finally arrived. Let's go, Yang Yan said. All right, let's go, Yang Dingtian said. Then, he took Yao Rao from Madame Shimin and carried it on his back. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Everyone soared into the sky and spread their mystic chi wings, flying a few hundred meters above the ground. Immediately, they could clearly see that at the entrance of the cave, Tianluo Mo Sha and 2 elders were sitting there neatly. Li Zhongjian, as well as his wife and 2 sons, were all lying in the cave. It was unknown whether they were dead or alive. Whoosh 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 whoosh. Yang Dingtian and the rest flew into the cave and landed in front of Tianluo Mo Sha. Tianluo Mo Sha slowly opened his eyes and looked at Yang Dingtian. You're here? At this moment, Tianluo Mo Sha seemed to have completely changed into a different person. Although his face was still ugly, he no longer had the ferocious beast from before. Instead, he looked dignified and quiet. At this moment, Tianluo Mo Sha did not look like a barbarian beast, but like a martial arts expert. The wildness and ruthlessness from before had completely disappeared. Yang Dingtian nodded at him. Tianluo Mo Sha looked at Zhao Liao and said, You're here too? Originally, Tianluo Mo Sha looked at Zhao Liao with evil eyes. But at this moment, his eyes were as calm as water. We're here to kill you, Zhao Liao said coldly. Tianluo Mo Sha smiled faintly, then bowed and said, Master Yang Dingtian and the rest are here. Then, Tianluo Mo Sha got up respectfully, then knelt at the side. A young master in snow-white clothes slowly walked out. He was Qin Huaiyu. Behind him was Shimin Ju with a ferocious and ugly face, his entire body shrouded in darkness. That's right, it was Shimin Ju. He did not die at all. Qin Huaiyu stepped forward and said to Yang Dingtian, Junior apprentice brother Yang, you're here? Come, go in and sit. Okay. Yang Dingtian. Then, he followed Qin Huaiyu into the cave and sat down in front of a stone table. At this moment, there was a sumptuous banquet on the table. It was still hot. It was prepared in a hurry, so it's not too sumptuous. Please forgive me. Qin Huaiyu poured a cup of wine for Yang Dingtian, saying, This should be your last meal. Although you and I are enemies, I admire you very much. So, before I send you off, I have to treat you well no matter what. Then, Qin Huaiyu drank it in one gulp. Yang Dingtian took the cup, looked at it carefully for a while, then drank it in one gulp. Qin Huaiyu said to Yang Yan, Great Elder, did you test it? Can Yang Dingtian be killed? Yang Yan stepped forward and bowed, saying, Yes. We first killed Shajin and the other 3 to gain his temporary trust. But we were worried that he would not follow me to assassinate Tianluo Mo Sha, so we pretended to kill Shimin Ju to gain his trust. He really did follow us to kill Tianluo Mo Sha. Under the destructive power of Tianluo Mo Sha, if Yang Hongyi on his back was really some expert, she would definitely have made a move. The situation was very dangerous at that time. Tianluo Mo Sha's palm was very powerful. Yang Hongyi did not make a move, which means she is not some mysterious expert. Yang Dingtian could not help but glance at Shimin Ju. No wonder Yang Yan and the rest chased after Shimin Ju for more than 10 meters and killed him at a corner. So they pretended to kill him, afraid of revealing any flaws. And the so-called assassination of Tianluo Mo Sha was just to test whether Yang Hongyi was a real expert. They felt that under the threat of Tianluo Mo Sha's death, if Yang Hongyi was really some expert, she would definitely have made a move. In the end, not only did Yang Hongyi not make a move, she was hit by Tianluo Mo Sha's palm wind, her life and death unknown. This old man does not know where this Yang Hongyi came from, but she is not a threat. That is why I dared to bring Yang Dingtian here to see you, Yang Yan said. And Qin Huaiyu nodded, then said to Yang Dingtian, Junior brother Yang, don't blame me for being afraid of death. It's just that the woman behind you is of unknown origin. I am really afraid you have some trump card. If you don't, then that's for the best. I will definitely take Cloud Heaven City, and I will definitely kill you. Then I'm sorry. Qin Huaiyu toasted Yang Dingtian again and said, Before you die, Do you have any words to say? Yang Dingtian pointed at Tianluo Mosha and said, He is one of your people? Qin Huaiyu nodded and said, That's right. When he was exiled from the Sunset Mountain Range, he wandered into my territory and was captured by me. After torturing him for a while, he became my personal guard. This person is a martial arts fanatic. Previously, he was tied down by many desires, so his cultivation was not fast. Now that I have castrated him, his cultivation has advanced by leaps and bounds. People say that people with yang xian veins need sufficient yang qi, but I don't think so. The qi si and xian veins do not have much to do with the physical body. Tianluo Mosha was actually castrated. No wonder he did not have much of a reaction when he saw Jiao Liao. Then, when Yang Dingtian went to assassinate him, it was obvious that he was fooling around with a woman in full swing. Yang Dingtian said, In order to kill me, Qin Huaiyu, you actually led the barbarian tribe from the Sunset Mountain Range into Cloud Heaven City's territory, causing my territory to be plunged into misery and suffering. Tens of thousands of people died. Isn't that a bit too much? Qin Huaiyu curled his lips and said, They are just ants. I admire your junior brother Yang from the bottom of my heart. Of course, I will find tens of thousands of people to accompany you in death. After all, you are a big shot. Qin Huaiyu drank another cup of wine and said, All right, enough chit-chat. Send Yang Dingtian on his way. Yes. Tianluo Mosha stood up and walked in front of Yang Dingtian, raising his black staff. Wait a moment. Yang Dingtian said. I want to know, how will you arrange Yang Yan and Yang Jing? Qin Huaiyu smiled and said, Black Blood Castle will be handed over to Shiminju, and Yang Jing will be the city lord. But I have to tell the world that Cloud Heaven City will completely submit to my Northwest Qin City after tonight. In the future, Yang Jing and Shimin Yanyan's son will be sent to my Northwest Qin City as a hostage. Yang Dingtian looked at Yang Yan and said, Your so-called love for Cloud Heaven City is nothing more than this. Yang Yan's gaze trembled and said, A wise man submits to circumstances. Qin Huaiyu stood up and threw the cup on the table, saying, All right, don't waste time. Tianluo, send Yang Dingtian on his way. Tianluo Mosha's eyes suddenly focused and instantly turned blood red. All the xianqi in his body suddenly condensed. In an instant, a blood-red black qi emerged from his huge body. An incomparably powerful force instantly enveloped the entire cave. The energy pressure coming from Tianluo Mosha's body was completely like the pressure of Mount Tai. Yan Yan looked at Yang Dingtian and said coldly, When I go back, I will tell everyone in Cloud Heaven City that you died at the hands of the barbarian tribe's leader, Tianluo Mosha. You died very bravely. I will call on all the Cloud Heaven City disciples to learn from you. Yang Dingtian stood up and said indifferently, No need. Then, he patted Zhao Rao on his back and said, All right, no need to act. We can start killing. The barbarian tribe is really a good excuse. No matter who you kill, you can stuff it in. Hee hee. Yao Rao let out a coquettish sound, then slid down from Yang Dingtian's back. Then, an incomparably powerful energy spread out in an instant, instantly suppressing Tianluo Mosha's aura. Qin Huaiyu's expression changed greatly. Yan Yan's expression changed greatly. Yang Zheng's expression changed greatly. Master? Master-level powerhouse? Yan Yan pointed at Yao Rao, trembling in disbelief. That's right. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, Yang Yan, Yang Jing, you can die now. Chapter 362. All of you die in peace. I will tell everyone that you died at the hands of Tianluo Mosha. You died very bravely and perished together with Tianluo Mosha. Yang Dingtian continued. Suddenly, Yan Yan staggered and took 2 steps back. He looked at Yang Dingtian and Yao Rao in disbelief. Impossible! This is impossible! Yan Yan couldn't help but tremble. Okay, you can go now, Yang Dingtian said. At this moment, Qin Huaiyu suddenly coughed and said, Yang Dingtian, if I'm not wrong, This should be the mystic-tailed demon fox, Yao Rao. She has been imprisoned in the dungeon of Cloud Sky City for more than 10 years. When Qin Huaiyu said this, not only Yang Dingtian, but even Madame Shimon's expression changed drastically. There's no need to make such an expression, Qin Huaiyu said. Back then, when we were chasing this 1,000-year-old fox, my father was also present. When I was plotting against Cloud Sky City, my father reminded me many times to be careful of this 1,000-year-old fox in the dungeon. Of course, when he said to be careful, he didn't mean that Yao Rao would stir up trouble or something like that. He said that after I took control of Cloud Sky City, I shouldn't go see this 1,000-year-old fox out of curiosity and act as if I didn't know about her existence at all. This fox's identity is too special. She is the public enemy of the world. If I were to provoke her, the consequences would be unimaginable. Then Qin Huaiyu said, however, my father said very firmly that Yao Rao is trapped in a formation and no one in this world can release her. I really didn't expect that you would actually release her. How did you do it? I can't imagine at all. Even my father can't release her. Then Qin Huaiyu sighed and said, although I thought that you wouldn't be able to release her, I am a person who takes every conceivable possibility into account. Just in case, I still made the relevant preparations. Uncle Buxing, it's time for you to come out. Suddenly, a languid middle-aged man in ragged clothes slowly walked out. As he walked, he yawned. His eyes were blurred and his face was dispirited, as if he could never sleep enough. Qin Buxing was one of Cloud Sky City's secret experts. Although he had awakened Qin, he didn't have any blood relations with Qin Wanqiu. He had only been bestowed with the surname Qin. This person only had two things, martial arts and fine wine. However, most of the people in this world only vaguely knew that Qin Buxing was a master realm expert. Basically, no one knew his exact cultivation level. After all, there were not many opportunities for the Northwest Qin City to require a Grandmaster level powerhouse. Master stage experts were almost the top experts in this world. Therefore, no force would have too many Grandmaster level experts, including the Northwest Qin City. In the entire Northwest Qin City on the surface, there were only 5 people at the Grandmaster level. This time, Qin Chichi swept through the southwest continent and took away 2. The Northwest Qin City's vast territory was guarded by 2 Grandmasters. As for Qin Buxing, he was brought over by Qin Huaiyu. It could be seen that in order to smoothly eliminate Yang Dingtian this time, Qin Huaiyu had practically spared no effort. Qin Huaiyu looked at Yao Rao and said, when this demon fox was in human form, she should only be a 3-star Grandmaster. Martial Uncle Buxing is a 5-star Grandmaster. Although he can't kill her because he can't, it's enough to suppress her. The remaining Tianluo Masha should be more than enough to kill you, Yang Dingtian. Of course, it's also more than enough to capture Yang Peipei and present her to my father. Yang Dingtian ignored Qin Huaiyu's insulting words and pointed at Yao Rao beside him. He suddenly laughed and said, you think she's Yao Rao? You're really imaginative. First of all, do you think I can control a 1,000-year demon fox? Second, Yao Rao is a black-tailed demon fox. In a year, she can only transform into human form for a very short period of time. This period basically doesn't exceed a day. Do you think I have the ability to control her in human form? Also, you said that even your father can't control Yao Rao, let alone me? Do you think I'm stronger than your father? At this moment, a trace of suspicion flashed through Qin Huaiyu's eyes. Indeed, as Yang Dingtian said, there was no one in this world who could control a 1,000-year demon fox. Second, there was no one in this world who could control a demon fox in human form. If it's not Yao Rao, then who can it be? Qin Huaiyu laughed. With your intelligence, you should be able to think of it. Yang Dingtian said. 2 months ago, where did I just come from? Netherworld Sea? Qin Huaiyu said. Yes, Netherworld Sea. Yang Dingtian said. There I did 2 things. First, I defeated Song Yu. Second, I saved the most outstanding female disciple of Netherworld Sea. I have something that can almost bring the dead back to life. You should have heard of it. So as a reward, I got 3 years of time from Netherworld C's most outstanding female disciple. These 3 years, she has to follow me and be controlled by me. Moreover, this is the recognition of Netherworld C's master, Wu Yu? Hearing the 2 words Wu Yu, Qin Huayu's face trembled slightly and said, You got the recognition of Wu Yu? No. In fact, Sect Master Wu Yu wants nothing more than to crush me to death with a finger, but his disciple lost. As a big shot, he couldn't bear it, so he could only accept this matter. Yang Dingtian said, Maybe after 3 years, Sect Master Wu Yu won't even need to do anything. This Yam Hongi will directly cut off my head. Hee hee. Yao Rao laughed. That won't happen. At most, I'll just castrate you. Qin Huayu's face suddenly became gloomy, and then he said coldly, You think I'll believe that? She is Yao Rao. She can hide her appearance, but she can't hide her soul-sucking eyes. You still want to use Netherworld C to scare me away? Dream on. Then, Qin Huayu said coldly, Yao Rao is a 1,000-year-old demon fox, the public enemy of the world. You actually dared to let her go without permission. You are making an enemy of the entire Tiando League. When she is in her beast form, she is almost invincible. I don't care how you fixed Yao Rao in her human form, but you are courting death. If I cripple her, I'm afraid even Dongfang Bingling will thank me. Finally, Qin Huayu said to Qin Buxing, Martial uncle, you can do it. You don't have to be merciful. This demon fox is only a 3-star Grand Master in her human form. She is far from being your opponent. Qin Buxing opened his lazy eyes, and then pulled out a rusty sword. He looked at Yao Rao and said, You keep saying that you are not a demon fox. Then let's see. Yao Rao is a 3-star Grand Master. Don't tell me you are also one. If you are, then even if I cripple you, you deserve to be unlucky. Yang Dingtian's heart suddenly turned cold. Yao Rao was a 9-star Grand Master in her beast form. But when she was in her human form, her cultivation was only 1%. She was indeed a 3-star Grand Master. If that was the case, then he was really in danger. The more serious consequences were that if people knew that Yang Dingtian had released Yao Rao, then the consequences would be unimaginable. Okay, Yao Rao said in a sweet voice, and then pulled out a treasured sword that looked like autumn water. Qin Buxing raised the rusty sword and looked at Yao Rao. You are very attractive. Any man in the world will fall in love with you. But unfortunately, I can't fall in love because I was castrated when I was very young. So, I will definitely not be merciful. When the time comes, I will either destroy your face or cut open your stomach. Don't blame me. If you have the ability, I won't blame you. Yao Rao smiled. Please. Honey. Yang Dingtian immediately looked at Yao Rao. He was also clear about Yao Rao's cultivation. She had never broken through to the 4-star Grandmaster level, and Qin Buxing was a 5-star Grandmaster. At the Grandmaster level, the difference of 1 level was almost like the difference between heaven and earth, let alone 2 levels. If he really made a move, Yao Rao would really be in danger. The child in Yao Rao's stomach would also be in danger. Don't be so wishy-washy. I know what to do, Yao Rao said, and then said to Qin Buxing, Okay, no bird, you can do it. Qin Buxing's facial muscles twitched, and the rusty sword in his hand gently slashed. The move was extremely vicious, and it directly slashed below Yao Rao's energy reserve. Ever since he was castrated when he was young, he liked to attack that part of people, regardless of whether the opponent was a man or a woman. His sword move was completely ordinary. There was no change in the world, no flash of the sword, just a gentle slash. However, it was just a gentle slash. It made a pine tree a few miles away tremble slightly, and then all the leaves on it fell in an instant. Yao Rao looked at the sword that was slashing towards her and smiled coldly. The autumn water sword in her hand also slashed gently, blocking Qin Buxing's rusty sword in the air. Clang! The 2 swords collided, and there was a soft, crisp sound. Even sparks did not sputter out. Whoosh! The iron sword in Qin Buxing's hand suddenly flashed a black shadow, and the rust on the sword instantly shot out and scattered cleanly, revealing the fiery red sword body. This was a treasured sword, and it was a treasured sword from ancient times. It was just that Qin Buxing had put on an act and made it look rusty. After the rust flew away, Qin Buxing's body suddenly shook and flew more than 10 meters away. The scattered rust burned fiercely in the air, turning into a firework. Wherever the firework passed, everything was destroyed and turned into ashes. The sound of the two swords lightly vibrating and colliding spread out. Puff! All the martial venerables present all spat out a mouthful of blood. 2 miles away, a group of eagles descended from the sky and pounced on a group of wild sheep on the ground. Suddenly, it was as if they were hit by an invisible thing. Puff! This group of eagles a few miles away was instantly smashed into pieces, turning into a mass of flesh and blood that splashed in the air. Yao Rao gently swung the sword in her hand and said to Qin Huaiyu, "I'm telling you, I'm not the mysterious-tailed demon fox Yao Rao, understand?" Qin Huaiyu's face trembled slightly as he nodded and said, "Understood." Yang Ditian was also shocked at this time. Yao Rao's cultivation was clearly not at the level of a 4-star Grandmaster. How could she defeat a 5-star Grandmaster? This was completely impossible. How could such a thing happen? Qin Huaiyu quickly calmed down and looked at Yang Dingtian. "You really do have a trump card? Then, what do you want now? I have to tell you, you can't kill me. Although Yang Hongi by your side is a little stronger than Martial Uncle Qin Buxing, it's only by a little. Not to mention, I have a Tianluo Masha who is close to the level of a Grand Master. If we really fight, you won't have the upper hand. Basically you, Madame Shimin, and Zhao Liao will all die without a doubt." Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "I know, Qin Buxing can hold Yang Hongi back. Then me, mother-in-law, and Zhao Liao will barely be able to fight Tianluo Masha, not to mention Yang Yan, Yang Jing, and the others. So, it can be said that this battle will be evenly matched, and both sides will suffer. It's good that you know," Qin Huaiyu said. "Then, what do you want from me by risking your life to come here?" Yang Dingtian said, "To negotiate with you, to persuade you to give up Cloud Sky City and withdraw all the forces that have infiltrated it. Give Yang Yan, Yang Jing, and Yan Biele to me for execution. Bring Zhui Boning, Ren Duansang, and Shimin Ju back to your northwest Qin city." After Yang Dingtian finished speaking, Qin Huaiyu was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter. "Yang Dingtian, are you crazy or stupid?" Qin Huaiyu laughed and said, "Today, you have a 5-star Grand Master by your side. If we fight with you, both sides will suffer. Then, let's not fight. I can at least retreat safely. When I return to the northwest Qin city, I will bring another Grand Master here. It will be easy to eliminate you. That's right, I don't want to offend the Sea of Hades for no reason. But if the people from the Sea of Hades provoke my northwest Qin city, then I won't be polite. If I don't go to their South Sea, they can forget about causing trouble in my northwest. Even if I kill this Yang Hongi, we will have nothing to say. The Sea of Hades is a huge monster to your Cloud Sky City, and you won't dare to offend them. But to the northwest Qin city, it's just that." Qin Huaiyu smiled and returned to the table. He poured himself a cup of wine and said, "Qin Chichi will take the southwest, and I will take the northwest. There are 2 nails in the northwest. One is Cloud Sky City, and the other is White Cloud City. For Cloud Sky City, how much effort have I put in? How many people have I infiltrated into your territory? How many people have I bribed? Do you think I will give up? Give up because of a few words from you? Dream on. I won't gain any advantage from fighting with you today. We are leaving. In a few days we will bring 2 Grandmasters to eliminate you." After saying that, Qin Huaiyu, Qin Buxing, and the others were about to leave. "Wait," Yang Dingtian said. "Let's talk again." "No, there's no room for discussion." Qin Huaiyu smiled and said, "Moreover, I don't talk to idiots, nor do I talk to idiots. Even more so, I don't talk to people who don't know their own limits." Yang Dingtian smiled and said, "How about this? I won't let Qin Chi take the southwest, at least not in a short period of time. How about that? You and Qin Chi fight for the northwest Qin City Lord position, and I will fully support you. How about that? After I take control of Cloud Sky City, I will go to your northwest Qin City and pay tribute. How about that? As soon as he said that, the entire cave fell into silence. Everyone looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. Especially Yang Yan, Yang Jing, and even Madame Shimin. They all looked at Yang Dingtian in shock. They didn't expect Yang Dingtian to make such an offer. After Qin Huayu recovered from his shock, he laughed loudly. Then, his expression turned cold and he said, "Sorry, I don't talk to people who don't know their own limits. You want to talk to me about this? Do you take me for a fool? Do you think you can do it?" "Of course I can do it," Yang Dingtian said resolutely. "Good." Qin Huayu smiled coldly and said, "The first thing is, how are you going to stop Qin Chi from taking the southwest? I can tell you that he has already taken 80% of it. He will sweep through the entire southwest like a hot knife through butter. I ask you, how are you going to stop him?" "Very simple," Yang Dingtian said. "The key to the southwest is Sky Phoenix Pavilion. Qin Chi swept through the southwest because of Sky Phoenix Pavilion's loyalty. I can clearly see that Sky Phoenix Pavilion Master supports Qin Chi. She is cold, and even disgusted with you." "That's right. Even a blind person can see that," Qin Huayu said. "As long as Sky Phoenix Pavilion betrays Qin Chi, then she won't be able to take the southwest. Even if she does, she won't be able to control it," Yang Dingtian said. "Sky Phoenix Pavilion has no less than 3 master rank experts. Unless your father personally makes a move, Qin Chi alone won't be able to handle it." "That's true," Qin Huayu said. "However, if you want that old hag to betray Qin Chi, you're dreaming. I can tell you that the reason that old hag can become the pavilion master is all thanks to Qin Chi. Of course, I don't have the ability to make the current pavilion master, Leng Yanmei, betray Qin Chi. However, we can kick her out of her position," Yang Dingtian said. "How?" Qin Huayu said. "If I could kick her out, I would have done it long ago. I know that the original Sky Phoenix Pavilion Master, who is also your wife Ning Roa's master, Duan Rian, isn't dead. She's only crippled and imprisoned somewhere, right?" "Yes." Qin Huayu snorted casually. "It's simple. Heal her and let her recover her cultivation," Yang Dingtian said. "This way, she can rightfully take back the position of Sky Phoenix Pavilion Master. Moreover, she can label Ling Yanmei, who supports Qin Chi, as a traitor and kill her. This way, Sky Phoenix Pavilion will support you and not Qin Chi." Qin Huayu shook his head and said, "Stop dreaming. Duan Rian is completely crippled. She can't even sit up, let alone recover her cultivation." Yang Dingtian said, "My wife Yan Yan was poisoned and her cultivation was destroyed. You should know that." Qin Huayu said, "Of course I know. The world's #1 poison, Darkness Crystal. It was originally prepared for Shimin Wuya, but it ended up in Shimin Yanyan's stomach. Her cultivation was destroyed, and her Xian meridians and Qi Si were completely withered. Even the Netherworld Sea couldn't do anything. However, Yan Yan has already recovered," Yang Dingtian said. "I healed her." "Impossible!" Qin Huayu exclaimed. His face was filled with an unprecedented shock. Then, he looked at Shimin Ju. Shimin Ju nodded. Qin Huayu looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief and said, "Impossible? How did you do it?" "This is impossible. What the Netherworld Sea couldn't do, I did." Yang Dingtian pointed at Yao Rao and said, "This is the Netherworld Sea's most outstanding female disciple, Yang Hongyi. Her situation should be exactly the same as the original Sky Phoenix Pavilion Master, Duan Rian. Her Xian meridians were destroyed and her Qi Si shattered. She should have mistakenly entered another world gate. The Netherworld Sea couldn't do anything, but I healed her. Otherwise, with her status, how could she become a maid and stay by my side for 3 years?" Qin Huayu immediately looked at Yang Hongyi. Yao Rao nodded. Qin Huaiyu took a deep breath and said, Junior brother Yang, even if you save Duan Ruyan, it's useless. This woman's temper is stubborn and smelly. She won't submit. Even if you saved her, she won't submit to me. Don't worry, it's enough to let her oust Ling Yemei first. At that time, Qin Chichi won't be able to control the southwest. Yang Dingtian said. Next, if Duan Ruyan still doesn't listen, I can help you destroy her. Because when I saved her, I can leave a seed in her body. So, I can destroy her at any time. At that time, your wife, Ning Roer, will be the Sky Phoenix Pavilion Master. Ro? Impossible. Qin Huaiyu said. It was because she lost her virginity that her cultivation declined. Later, after she gave birth to a child, her cultivation almost completely disappeared. I can help her reconstruct her Xian meridians. Using Naga's Xian meridians crystal should be enough. Yang Dingtian said. Qin Huaiyu was stunned. He thought about it carefully. It really could be done. First, he would save Duan Ruyan and oust the current pavilion master, Ling Yanmei. This way, the Sky Phoenix Pavilion wouldn't be able to support Qin Chichi. This way, Qin Chichi wouldn't be able to control the southwest. This way, Qin Chichi and Qin Huaiyu would lose 10% of the battle for the northwest Qin city lord position. Then, he could let Duan Ruyan be the pavilion master for a period of time. When Ning Roer was strong enough, he could destroy Duan Ruyan and push Ning Roer to the pavilion master position. Although it wouldn't be easy, he believed that Duan Ruyan would be willing to do it. Of course, Qin Huaiyu naturally didn't know that Yang Dingtian would help Ning Roer reconstruct her Xian meridians. It would be extremely intimate. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't agree even if he died. Okay, we'll consider the first one done, Qin Huaiyu said. Then what about the second one? You said that you would fully support me in the battle for the Northwest Qin City Lord position with Qin Chichi. Am I looking down on you? You alone can't support me much. I really want to know, how will you support me? I can make you stronger. I can tell you where the other Yang attribute Xian flame is, Yang Dingtian said. But before I tell you, I want Yang Yan and the others to die. Chapter 363. Note 1. Enchanting Rao is a 9-star martial Grand Master in her demonic beast form. When she is in her human form, her cultivation is at mid-level martial Grand Master. Qin Huaiyu shuddered when he heard that. His eyes shot out bright rays of light. Yang Dingtian said, Because your father didn't allow Qin Chichi to seize the southwest? Just when you returned from the Dongli grassland, your father allowed Qin Chichi to attack the southwest? Because before that, in your father's heart, you were almost the only successor. Qin Chichi might be cunning and intelligent, but she was still a woman. But she failed to seize the mystic flame in the Dongli grassland, which disappointed your father. Thus, he started to waver and placed his sights on Qin Chichi. That was why Qin Chichi led an army of 100,000 to attack the southwest. Qin Huaiyu's expression turned ugly. He nodded and said, That's right. Yang Dingtian stared at Qin Huaiyu and said, You lost one mystic flame. I will give you another one. You will get up from where you fell. Speak, Qin Huaiyu said. That mystic flame, where is it? Yang Dingtian frowned. At least show your sincerity. Then Yang Dingtian pointed at Yang Yan, Yang Jing, Yan Bieli, and the others, saying, I want them dead. Qin Huaiyu was stunned. Once the information about the mystic flame is revealed, it will be considered a huge reward. So you have to take out your bargaining chip. Yang Dingtian pointed at Yang Yan, Yang Jing, and the others, saying, I want them dead. Qin Huaiyu was silent. Yang Dingtian repeated coldly, I want Yang Yan and the others dead. Qin Huaiyu's facial muscles relaxed slightly. He then laughed and said, Yang Dingtian, do you think I am a fool? Even if you tell me the location, how can I be sure that the mystic flame is there? Just based on this, you want me to kill Yang Yan and the others? Do you think I am a fool? Hongi, use your energy to envelop me and Qin Huaiyu. Only Qin Huaiyu can hear what I say. Yang Dingtian said. Yang Hongyi replied indifferently. Subsequently, a powerful energy instantly enveloped Yang Dingtian and Qin Huayu. At this moment, the conversation between Yang Dingtian and Qin Huayu could only be heard by each other. What do you think about the location of the mystic flame? Yang Dingtian suddenly said. I'm talking about a heaven and earth mystic flame, not an ordinary mystic flame, let alone a random flame. Qin Huayu said. I'm talking about you. The million-spirit demonic flame is in the Dongli grasslands. In the Netherworld Sea, Song Yu's icy heart heavenly flame is in the 10,000-li glacier. Yang Dingtian said. The million-spirit demon flame is near the celestial Red Sea, while the icy heart heavenly flame is near the northern fantasy land. What were these two places? Others might not know, but you should know. Qin Huayu's figure instantly shook, and he said, The World Gate. That's right, the Reality Gate. Yang Dingtian said. Of course, it's a complete mystery to us as to which reality gates exist in this world. But currently, we know of 3. One is in the celestial Red Sea, one is in the extreme northern illusory land of the Great Northern Plains, and one is in the extreme western land of the Infernal Ocean. Your father's mystic flame comes from the Netherworld Impasse. My master's mystic flame comes from the Red Blood Sand Sea. Although their mystic flames are not inferior to heaven and earth mystic flames in terms of power, the mystic flames in these places are all solitary flames. They are either Yang mystic flames or Yin mystic flames. But the million-spirit demonic flame in the Dongli grasslands is not only divided into Yin and Yang, but also has a mirage void flame. The icy heart heavenly flame in the 10,000-mile glacier is also divided into Yin and Yang flames. What do you think we can see from this? Qin Huayu said. In this world, any continent over 10,000 miles can give birth to a mystic flame, but the chances are extremely slim. But near the Reality Gate, there will definitely be a mystic flame, and it will be a heaven and earth mystic flame, and there will be Yin and Yang flames. Yang Dingtian nodded. Qin Huayu took a deep breath and said, You said the other mystic flame is at the 10,000-mile glacier? Song Yutsai took the ice attribute mystic flame and left behind a Yang mystic flame? No. Yang Dingtian said. The Yang mystic flame in the 10,000-mile glacier has already been taken away by Wu Yu. You must have heard from Sect Master Qin about this terrifying character. He does not have Yin and Yang mystic flames, so no matter if it is a Yin mystic flame or a Yang mystic flame, he swallowed them all. At this point, Yang Dingtian suddenly thought of a terrifying possibility, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Then the other Yang mystic flame that you mentioned is also near the Reality Gate? Qin Huayu asked. Yang Dingtian cast aside that terrifying thought and nodded at Qin Huayu. Where? Qin Huayu asked. Yang Dingtian said. 5,000 miles north of the Temple of Blood, Blood Swamp. There? Qin Huayu said with a trembling voice. That's right there. Yang Dingtian said. Blood Swamp, a blood swamp with a radius of a few thousand miles. Compared to the Dongli grassland, this place might be even more mysterious and terrifying. This was because it was a forbidden area for the evil Dao. The Dongli grassland was at least the half-human race's territory, and Blood Swamp was considered a forbidden ground to the Temple of Blood. Yang Dingtian had been to the Temple of Blood before, but he definitely hadn't been to Blood Swamp. If there was a Shura purgatory in this world, it would probably look like Blood Swamp. Yang Dingtian, to be honest, I definitely didn't believe that you would tell me about the mystic flame. Qin Huayu said. Even though you already have one mystic flame, who in this world would dislike having too many mystic flames? But when you told me that the mystic flame is in Blood Swamp, I believed it instead. Evil ways were forbidden grounds. Even Grandmaster experts would definitely die if they entered. Even my father didn't dare to barge in alone, let alone you. Yang Dingtian nodded and said, I wasn't arrogant enough to think that I could barge into Blood Swamp, but it might not be impossible for you. Because you have already formed an alliance with the Temple of Blood, right? Qin Huayu said. But this fragile alliance was almost destroyed by you in the Dongli grassland. I don't care. Yang Dingtian said. I believe that your Qin city can pay enough to let you enter Blood Swamp. Qin Huayu instantly fell into deep thought. At this moment, Yang Dingtian said, Hongyi, you can remove the energy barrier now. Yao Rao responded faintly, and Yang Dingtian's head instantly relaxed. Qin Huayu looked at Yang Dingtian and said, The third condition is for your Cloud Heaven City to submit to me and pay tribute? Yang Dingtian nodded and said, I can formally apply to the Tiando League to personally lead Cloud Heaven City's diplomatic group to the Northwest Qin City. Under the witness of the Tiando League, I will formally submit to Qin City. In the future, if Qin City wants to attack, my Cloud Heaven City will also send troops. Qin Huayu said, If you do this, I'm afraid you will offend the Yinyang school. Yang Dingtian said, This is a matter of life and death. I can't care so much about it. Following that, Yang Dingtian said, Senior brother Qin, the most important thing to you now is the mystic flame. Even more important is the position of Qin City's lord. You should be very clear about my talent. If you have my full support, you will have a huge advantage in the competition with Qin Chichi. But you and I have a grudge? Qin Huayu said. There is a grudge, but there is no enmity. Yang Dingtian said. There is no death grudge between us. You didn't kill my family or friends, and I didn't do anything unforgivable to you. Or to put it more directly, when I become strong enough in the future, I will definitely take Cloud Heaven City away from the Northwest Qin City's control. But do you think I will invade your Northwest Qin City? Where do you think my future focus will be? The Lord of Yinyang School, conquering Dongfang Bingling. Qin Huayu said directly. That's right. My goal is the Yinyang School and conquering Dongfang Bingling. Yang Dingtian said. So I don't have much interest in the Northwest Qin City. Of course, if I really take over the Yinyang School one day, I might have a life and death battle with your Northwest Qin City. But that should be many years in the future. It won't hinder our cooperation now. Qin Huayu muttered to himself, and fell into a life and death situation. Yang Dingtian continued. In order to show your sincerity, you can promise me nothing and don't do anything. Let me first treat Heavenly Phoenix Pavilion Master Duan Rian and help your wife Ning Ro reconstruct her profound veins. Qin Huayu slowly closed his eyes. Immediately, Yang Yan, Yang Jing, Yan Bieli, and the others stared at Qin Huayu, unable to breathe. Because Qin Huayu's decision would determine their life and death. Qin Huayu kept his eyes closed. Yang Yan's body began to tremble. His beard and hair also began to tremble. His face began to turn pale and colorless. Qin Huayu opened his eyes and looked at Yang Dingtian. Senior brother Qin! Yang Dingtian shouted. Don't call me senior brother! Qin Huayu revealed an incomparably warm smile and stepped forward to hold Yang Dingtian's hand. He said to Qin Buxing and Tianluo and Mo Sha, Remember, from today onwards, Yang Dingtian is my little brother and half your master. Once these words were spoken, Yang Yan's body trembled and his face turned ashen. Yang Dingtian smiled and shouted, Big brother Qin! Good little brother! Qin Huayu laughed and said, How about this? After the matters in Cloud Heaven City are settled, you will come with me to Qin City and we will become sworn brothers in public. No, we will be even closer. Jiao Jiao is my father's daughter of the first wife and the most respected daughter of my Qin City. I will report to my father and ask him to betroth Jiao Jiao to you and make her your concubine. This time, Yang Dingtian was shocked and Madame Ximen's delicate body also trembled. Qin Huayu actually pushed Qin Jiajiao out. That's right, Yang Dingtian looked down on Qin Jiajiao. Although she was also a great beauty, she couldn't compare to Yan Yan. The key point was that Yang Dingtian really didn't like her character and temper. But no matter what, Qin Jiajiao was still Qin Wanzhou's daughter of the first wife and was unmarried. Unlike Ximenju's wife, who was not only a concubine's daughter but also remarried and even had a son with another man. A concubine was a madam, but in reality, she was a concubine. With Qin Jiaojiao's status, if she put in a little effort, it would be enough for her to be the main wife of the successors of the three sections. But now, she was going to be Yang Dingtian's concubine. Qin Huaiyu was really putting in a lot of capital. In this world, Yang Dingtian's main wife was originally Dongfang Bingling, but she later broke off the marriage. Then, Yang Dingtian's main wife became Yin Yan Shimin, and this main wife was the only one. Next, Yang Dingtian could have countless women, but they would all be concubines. As long as one had some status, it was impossible to give their daughter to someone else to be a concubine. What? Brother, do you dislike my younger sister? Qin Huaiyu asked. How would I dare? Yang Dingtian said. It's just that Qin Jiaojiao is a blessed daughter of the heavens. In an instant, only Yang Dingtian, Jiao Liao, Yao Rao, Yang Yan, Yang Jing, and Yan Bieli were left in the cave dwelling. Neither side spoke first, and the cave was deathly silent. Yang Dingtian, your shamelessness is far beyond my imagination, Yang Jing suddenly said. Where's your integrity and hot-bloodedness? Yang Dingtian didn't bother with him. Do you think Qin Huaiyu will really believe you? Yang Jing sneered and said. Today, he abandoned us like a pair of worn-out shoes. Tomorrow, he will also betray and abandon you. Yang Dingtian still didn't bother with him. Do you think I will beg you? Dream on! Yang Jing roared. Come and kill me, come and kill me! I will wait for you in the underworld, I will wait for you in hell. Then Yang Jing suddenly drew his sword and shouted. Grand Elder Yan Bieli, draw your weapons. We will fight to the death with them. Yang Yan looked at Yang Dingtian without any expression on his face. After hearing Yang Zheng's words, Yang Yan slowly drew his sword. Yao Rao's beautiful eyes focused as she drew her sword. Madame Shimin and Jiao Liao also drew their swords. The final battle between both sides was about to start. However, Yang Yan didn't fight. Instead, he held his sword with both hands and slowly knelt in front of Yang Dingtian. Sinner Yang Yan pays his respects to City Lord Yang. Yang Yan kowtowed respectfully, and raised his sword up high. Yang Jing was instantly enraged and said, Yang Yan, why are you doing this? Before you die, do you still want to throw away the face of our Yang clan? Madame Shimin, Yang Pei couldn't help but sneer and said, It's too late to kneel and pledge your loyalty now. Jiao Liao said, City Lord, this person is extremely scheming. His heart is like a scorpion and cannot be trusted. You must not be soft-hearted. Yang Yan knelt on the ground and continued, City Lord, I, Yang Yan, have fought with Shimin Wuya for decades. I have been scheming with the Northwest Qin city for decades. I did not surrender and did not die. But today I surrender. I kneel in front of you and beg for your forgiveness. Get up! Yang Jing was furious. He suddenly placed his sword on Yang Yan's neck and said sternly, I am the head of the Yang clan. How dare you surrender? I will count to 3. If you don't get up, I will kill you immediately. After saying that, Yang Jing pressed his sword down and blood flowed out from Yang Yan's neck. Yang Yan's eyes were filled with tears. Silently, he kowtowed to Yang Dingtian. After kowtowing, his forehead was immediately dripping with blood. 1. Yang Jing roared loudly. Sinner Yang Yan, I beg for the city lord's forgiveness. Yang Yan kowtowed a second time and his face was immediately covered with blood. 2. Yang Jing was furious. The sword on Yang Yan's neck trembled violently. Sinner Yang Yan, I beg for the city lord's forgiveness. Yang Yan kowtowed a third time and his forehead was badly mutilated. Boneless old thief, go to hell! Yang Jing slashed down with his sword. Yang Yan raised his head and looked at Yang Dingtian, saying, City Lord can kill all traitors, but please leave behind a bloodline for my Yang clan. Old Yang Yan begs. After saying that, Yang Yan grabbed his head with both hands and twisted it violently. Puff! Blood spurted out. Yang Yan had completely twisted his own head. Fresh blood splattered on Yang Deng's face. His sword that was slashing at Yang Yan's neck stopped halfway. Looking at Yang Yan, who had lost his head, his body trembled. Not only Yang Jing, everyone present, including Yang Dingtian and Madame Shimin, were trembling, looking at the scene in front of them in disbelief. Yang Yan committed suicide. He used the most tragic method to commit suicide, twisting his own head off while he was still alive. At this time, Yan Yan's body still did not fall. He was kneeling on the ground, holding the head he had twisted off with both hands, offering it to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian looked at Yan Yan's severed head. At this time, 2 streams of blood flowed down from his eyes. Although he was already dead, Yan Yan's eyes were still filled with tears of blood and pleading. "City Lord, please leave behind a bloodline for my Yang clan, don't kill them all." After a long time, Yang Jing suddenly howled and cried like a wild beast. Chapter 364. Yan Yan's final kowtow wasn't to beg for mercy, but to ask Yang Dingtian to spare Yang Jing's life. At this moment, Yang Jing was already kneeling on the ground. Yan Bieli's face was twitching, and there wasn't a trace of blood on his face. His turbid eyes were filled with trembling and fear. He didn't know if he should pick up his weapon and fight or kneel down and beg for mercy. Yang Dingtian glanced at Madame Shimen and Zhao Liao before drawing his golden soul sword. The 3 of them neatly surrounded Yan Bieli. Yan Bieli's expression changed drastically. He quickly raised his weapon and looked at Yang Jing. However, Yang Jing was still kneeling on the ground and bawling without any reaction. "Apologies." Yang Dingtian apologized to Yan Bieli. Then, the 3 of them thrust their swords at Yan Bieli. Elder Yan Bieli of the enforcement pavilion widened his eyes. The sword in his hand was about to slash at Yang Dingtian, but halfway through, he gave up and stood there motionlessly. Pshhh. Yang Dingtian's sword pierced through Yan Bieli's heart. A mouthful of fresh blood spurted out from Yan Bieli's mouth. Then, his tall body collapsed onto the ground. Yan Bieli was dead. The elder of the enforcement pavilion of Cloud Heaven City for 20 years had finally come to an end. He wanted to beg for mercy, but his pride didn't allow him to do so. He wanted to resist, but he knew that it was meaningless. Therefore, he stood there motionlessly and allowed Yang Dingtian to kill him. After killing Yan Bieli, Yang Dingtian came to Yang Jing. "Yang Jing, have you had any women all these years? Did you have any children?" Yang Dingtian asked. "Kill me if you want. There is no need to be hypocritical." Yang Jing sneered. "Do you want the Yang clan to have no descendants?" Yang Dingtian said coldly. "Yan Yan is really blind. He actually placed all his hopes on you." Instantly, Yang Jing's body trembled. Then, he shook his head and said, "It's not like you don't know who the love of my life is. How can I have a woman? How can I have a child? Then, immediately tell me the name of a woman. This woman must like you very, very much. I'll have someone bring her here. You two will get married. After she gives birth to a child, no matter if it's a boy or a girl, I'll kill you. Then, I'll raise your child and personally teach him martial arts. After he grows up, if he is capable enough, Cloud Heaven City can be handed over to him," Yang Dingtian said calmly. Yang Jing was completely dumbfounded. "Perhaps you feel that I'm very shameless, to actually have an illicit relationship with Qin Huayu, to actually have a marriage alliance with Qin Huaqiu. This is no different from acknowledging a thief as my father," Yang Dingtian said. "But this is definitely not for my power. I have no interest in power in Cloud Sky City. I just want to protect the people I care about. I've told you before that if you're clear-headed enough, I can give up my position as Cloud Heaven City's city lord and hand it over to you. But your heart is completely deceived." "All right," Yang Dingtian sighed and said. "Either you tell me the name of a woman who loves you, or I'll kill you right now." Yang Jing looked at Yang Dingtian, tears continuously flowing from his eyes. Then, his legs went soft and he directly knelt on the ground. With a trembling voice, he said, "Thank you, City Lord, for your help. Land of Case, Thunder Town, Misty Hall, Little Peach. Is she a pervert?" Yang Dingtian asked. Yang Zheng nodded and said, "She is a pervert. She once risked her life to save mine. I promised to take her away, but I lied to her. I've let her down." Yang Dingtian frowned and said, "I don't have much prejudice against perverts, but her talent might not be too good. The child she gives birth to probably won't have a strong martial arts talent either. Yang Zheng said, I'm already an inauspicious person. How can I harm other women? All right. After returning to Cloud Heaven City, I'll send someone to bring her over, Yang Dingtian said. Thank you, City Lord. Yang Jing knelt down and kowtowed. Then, Yang Dingtian took out a fiery red pill from his spatial ring and burned it with profound fire. Boom! Suddenly, the pill exploded, turning into a mass of purple-red dancing light and shadow. This is a poison concocted by Shimin Ningning. It's called Ghost Chains. Although it can't compare to the deep-sea profound poison or the darkness crystal, it's the only antidote. There's basically no way to save you. Eat it, Yang Dingtian said, and then pressed a ball of purple-red light into Yang Zheng's chest. Suddenly, a demonic red mark appeared on Yang Zheng's face. Han Yi, seal all of his profound veins and block his qi, Yang Dingtian said. Immediately, Yao Rao stepped forward and quickly sealed all of Yang Deng's profound veins. Yang Zheng's body trembled and then his face suddenly turned pale. In an instant, he lost all of his cultivation. Big Brother Qin, please come in. After Yang Dingtian was done, he shouted towards the outside. Qin Huayu walked in and looked at Yan Yen and Yan Bieli's corpses. He said, Done? Good, I can go into battle easily in the future. Then, he saw Yang Zheng, who was hunched over and shrunk back. He immediately said to Yang Dingtian, Brother, this is your family's matter. It's not good for me to interfere. However, you must not be merciful to your enemies. You must eliminate them by the roots. Don't look at how pitiful they are now. In the future, they might be destroyed in their hands. Their relationship with you is different from the relationship between you and me. There's no death feud between us, but there's an absolute death feud between you two. Yang Dingtian was startled. He didn't expect Qin Huayu to advise Yang Dingtian to kill Yang Jing. Killing is still necessary, but after a period of time, Yang Dingtian said. That's fine too, Qin Huayu said. Without my northwest Qin city, this Yang Jing won't be able to stir up any waves. Then, Qin Huayu continued. Also, brother, I've always done things thoroughly and straightforwardly. This Ren Duansang is a spy from my northwest Qin city who has been hiding in your place for a long time. This Swiboning was also sent by us. The two of them won't cause trouble for you. I'll bring them back to Qin city. I'll also bring back Black Blood Castle and the thousands of troops that infiltrated your Cloud Heaven City's territory. I'll also bring Shiminju back. After returning to Cloud Heaven City, I'll let Shiminju go over to you, Yang Dingtian said. Shiminju doesn't need to return to Qin City, right? He's an elder of Cloud Heaven City. It doesn't seem appropriate for him to leave Cloud Heaven City even though he's still alive. How about this? Let him go to the Abyss Castle. Since Cloud Heaven City and Qin City have become one family, there's no need to be on guard at the border. It's just right for Shiminju to guard the Abyss Castle. Qin Huayu nodded and smiled. All right, I'll do as brother says. Then, he said to Shiminju, Brother-in-law, why aren't you greeting your city lord? From today onwards, you'll have to be loyal to your city lord. Shiminju went forward and knelt down. He said respectfully, Shiminju greets the city lord. Yang Dingtian extended his hand to help Shiminju up. All right, there are still some matters at the main camp that haven't been settled. Shiminju, follow me to settle them. Understood, Shiminju replied. Yang Dingtian then cupped his hands towards Qin Huayu. Big brother Qin, I'll go settle the matters. After I settle all the matters in Cloud Heaven City, I'll immediately follow you to Northwest Qin City. All right, please do as you wish, Qin Huayu said. Farewell, Yang Dingtian said. Farewell, Qin Huayu said. Then, Yang Dingtian carried Yang Yan and Yan Bieli's corpses and flew down the mountain. Madame Shimin, Jiao Liao, and Yao Rao flew down the mountain. Shiminju carried Yang Jing and flew down as well. The few of them mounted their horses and galloped towards the main camp dozens of miles away. After running for a few miles, Jiao Liao said, City Lord, if we go back like this, we won't be able to explain to the feudal lords in Cloud Heaven City. Yes, they wouldn't be able to explain. Li Zhongjian wasn't rescued, and Tianluo Mo Sha wasn't killed. Yang Dingtian waved his hand. Don't worry, he's extremely smart. He's already thought of what we thought of. As expected, after a while, a sound came from behind. City Lord Yang Dingtian, please wait a moment. Qin Buxing's voice came from behind. Then, Qin Buxing, Tianluo Mo Sha, Li Zhongjian's wife, and children caught up. Li Zhongjian led his wife and children forward and knelt down. Li Zhongjian thanks City Lord for saving our lives. Arriving in front of Yang Dingtian, Qin Buxing handed over a large bundle. City Lord Yang Dingtian, this is a gift from young Lord. Yang Dingtian took it and opened it slightly. Instantly, a bloody smell assaulted his senses. Inside there were 5 human heads. Zhuoboning and Renduansang's heads. These 2 people were spies from the northwest Qin city who had infiltrated Cloud Heaven City. At this time, they were mercilessly killed by Qin Huaiyu, who cut off their heads and gave them to Yang Dingtian as a gift. Yang Dingtian didn't take the initiative to mention it, but he said something. Shimin Ju was clearly alive, but he wanted to leave Cloud Heaven City. This would cause the disciples of Cloud Heaven City to gossip. In other words, Zhuoboning and Renduansang disappeared from Cloud Heaven City just like that. There didn't seem to be enough reason. Therefore, after Yang Dingtian left, Qin Huaiyu immediately cut off the heads of these 2 people. Of the remaining 3 heads, 2 were the remaining 2 elders of Stormy Valley, and the last was the head of the fake Tianluo Mo Sha. Young Master asked me to apologize to you. He really can't leave the Tianluo Mo Sha, so he can only use a fake head to replace it. However, it should be able to pass off as the real one, Qin Buxing said. Of course, it could pass off as the real one. If the Tianluo Mo Sha wasn't standing in front of him, Yang Dingtian would really think that his head had been cut off by Qin Huaiyu. Yang Dingtian bowed and said, Thank you for your deep friendship, Brother Qin. I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Goodbye. Then, Yang Dingtian carried the huge bag, mounted his horse, and galloped towards the camp. At this time, in the Mist Treasure Pavilion of Rose Villa, the feudal lords of Cloud Heaven City were eating meat and drinking wine. Paper couldn't wrap fire. These people weren't fools. When Yang Dingtian left with Yang Dingtian and the others, those who didn't know before would definitely know now. Yang Dingtian and the others' intention was to use the Tianluo Mo Sha to kill Yang Dingtian. On Yang Yan's side, there were a total of 7 martial venerables. On Yang Dingtian's side, there were only 3 people. Therefore, everyone felt that Yang Dingtian wouldn't be able to return this time. Yang Dingtian is dead for sure this time. That's right. Perhaps this is the shortest-lived city lord in history. From start to finish, he didn't last more than 3 months. After Yang Dingtian dies, I really don't know who will benefit from Shimin Yanyan, this peerless beauty? Nonsense, of course it will be the new city lord, Yang Jing. Not necessarily, not necessarily. It could also be someone else, someone even more important. The feudal lords drank and joked. Suddenly someone said, Actually, it's not bad for Yang Dingtian to be the city lord. He's quite a good person. When these words were said, the hall instantly fell silent. Hee hee. Sha Patian sneered. Let such a brat ride on our necks and shit and pee. You guys are willing, but I won't. That's right, we won't. Red River Valley's Zhu Sanmao said. If we want to find a backer, we have to find the strongest one. Who does Yang Dingtian think he is? Isn't he just a bastard who harmed his mother-in-law? He's just a lucky bastard. Let him ride roughshod over us. I won't accept it even if I die. Moreover, he's already dead now. Oh right, maybe his corpse was fed to the dogs. Sha Patian laughed. Young city lord Yang Dingtian hates him to the core. Shimin Yanyan's virginity was ruined by Yang Dingtian. Because of him, city lord Yang Jing can only drink the second bowl of soup. Zhu Sanbao drooled. Shimin Yanyan is such a peerless beauty, I'd be willing to taste the 100th bowl of soup. Isn't that right? Yang Dingtian really has good luck with women. He has the peerless beauty Shimin Yan Yan and the mature beauty Yang Peipei. If it was me, I'd be willing to die immediately. Instantly, the voices in the hall became vulgar. Of course, there were also a large number of people who frowned. They didn't mind trampling on Yang Dingtian. However, they were still full of respect for Shimin Wuya. Hearing Zhu Sanbao and Sha Paiyan humiliating Shimin Wuya, they were indeed unhappy. Zhu Sanbao, be more polite. After all, Shimin Wuya is City Lord Shimin's widow. Someone couldn't stand it and said, "Bah." Zhu Sanbao sneered. She can have an affair with Yang Dingtian and do such a shameful thing, but she doesn't allow others to talk about it. Now that her son-in-law is dead, she might even climb into the bed of the new son-in-law Yang Jing. This is even more chaotic. Yang Jing calls her aunt. Actually, no one knew why Zhu Sanbao hated Shimin Wuya so much. It was because when he went to Cloud Heaven City to offer offerings, he was shocked by Shimin Wuya's beauty and actually tried to bribe Shimin Wuya's maid to steal her underwear. In the end, Shimin Wuya found out, but she was kind and didn't tell Shimin Wuya. Instead, she punished Zhu Sanbao alone and broke one of his fingers. Zhu Sanbao, who saved his life, wasn't grateful at all. Instead, he hated Shimin Wuya even more. After Shimin Wuya passed away, Zhu Sanbao insulted Shimin Wuya even more. Not only did she climb into Yang Zheng's bed, Yang Peipei might even climb into Qin Huayu's bed. Zhu Sanbao laughed wretchedly. The sound of horse hooves approached like thunder. Then, Yang Dingtian led everyone and rushed into the hall like the wind. All of a sudden, everyone was shocked. Yang Dingtian actually came back? He didn't die? He actually came back? After rushing into the hall, Yang Dingtian jumped off his horse and sat on the highest seat in the hall. In the hall, all the vassals forgot to drink and stared blankly at Yang Dingtian. They didn't know what was going on. Yang Dingtian threw out a bag. Instantly, 3 hideous heads rolled out. One was a fake Tianluo Mo Sha, and the other 2 were barbarian elders. Evil must be eliminated. The leader of the barbarians, Tianluo Mo Sha, and 2 of his lackeys have been executed. Yang Dingtian said. From now on, all the barbarians who invaded Cloud Heaven City have been killed. This war has ended successfully. End. Everyone stared blankly at the 3 heads on the ground and didn't have any reaction. Then, Yang Dingtian took out a few more heads, but he respectfully placed them on the table. Renduansang's head, Swaboning's head. Immediately, everyone cried out in surprise. Then, it was Yan Bieli's head, and finally Yang Yan's head. Everyone couldn't help but exclaim. Yang Yan was dead, Yan Bieli was dead, Renduansang was dead, and Zwaboning was dead. 4 of the elders of Cloud Heaven City had died at once. Moreover, as the leader who opposed Yang Dingtian, Yan Yan, who spent a lot of money to rope in the feudal vassals, was actually dead. What happened? Didn't Yang Yan set a trap to kill Yang Dingtian? Why was Yang Dingtian fine, but Yang Yan was dead? Yang Dingtian looked at the 4 heads on the table and said sorrowfully. Tianluo Mo Sha, extremely vicious, counterattacked before death. My Cloud Heaven City's great elder Yan Yan, elder Yan Bieli, elder Renduansang, and elder Zwaboning were all killed. The 100 people present were shocked again. They looked at the 4 heads in disbelief and didn't know how to react. They were born great and died honorably. Cloud Sky City will never forget them. Every citizen of Cloud Sky City will never forget them. They will never be forgotten. They will always be the role models of Cloud Sky City, role models, said Yi Futian. Yang Dingtian roared loudly. But just when we were fighting a bloody battle and the 4 elders were sacrificing themselves bravely, someone actually committed the crime of rape and plunder. Someone actually instigated a rebellion. Someone actually dared to defile the city lord and the late city lord's wife? Can you all pat your own conscience and face great elder Yang Yan's spirit in heaven? Following that, Yang Dingtian looked at Shimin Ju and Yang Jing and said, Yang Jing, Shimin Ju, what do you think should be done with Zhu Sanbao and Sha Patian, these heartless and unscrupulous people. Shimin Ju stepped forward and bowed. Reporting to City Lord Xu Sanbao should have his tongue pulled out, castrated, and burned alive. Sha Patian should have his mystic meridians destroyed and his body torn apart by 5 horses. Yang Dingtian's eyes shrunk and said coldly, "Everyone, listen up. Xu Sanbao started a rumor, attacked the City Lord, and defiled the late City Lord's wife. He should have his tongue pulled out, castrated, and burned to death. Sha Patian instigated a rebellion, sentenced to be torn apart by 5 horses. All the Yang clan's personal guards who participated in the plunder and rape shall be beheaded in public," Yang Dingtian ordered. Sha Patian and Xu Sanbao's expression changed drastically as they shouted sternly, "Yang Dingtian, how dare you?" Sha Patian raised his arm and shouted, "Brothers, let's fight it out with them. There are over 100 of us, enough to tear Yang Dingtian into 1,000,000 pieces." As soon as these words were spoken, the entire scene was shaken. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Before Sha Patian could finish his words, a miserable cry was heard. Shimin Ju flashed behind him like a phantom and slashed out his sword like lightning, directly severing the meridians in Sha Potion's limbs. Then, the sharp sword pierced into Sha Potion's chi-si and stirred violently. Sha Patian let out an earth-shattering howl as his chi-si was completely destroyed. Then Yang Jing shouted, "Men, Xu Sanbao has committed treason by spreading rumors and insulting the late City Lord's wife. Drag him out, pull out his tongue, castrate him, and burn him to death. Sha Patian instigated a rebellion and colluded with the enemy. According to the City Lord's order, he is sentenced to be torn apart by 5 horses." Instantly, everyone present was stunned. Weren't Shimin Ju and Yang Jing Yang Dingtian's enemies? Why were they standing together with Yang Dingtian now? Moreover, they were so respectful to Yang Dingtian and followed his lead. Xu Sanbao's face was filled with shock as he shouted hoarsely, "Everyone, let's fight it out with them. We have more people, let's fight it out with them." However, even though there were people who were ready to make a move, no one really stood out. All the vassals present were terrified. Why were Shimin Ju and Yang Jing standing on Yang Dingtian's side all of a sudden? Moreover, Yan Yan and the rest were already beheaded. At this moment, if they jumped out, they would be courting death. Then, amidst Xu Sanbao's earth-shattering screams, Li Zhongjian personally stepped forward and dragged Xu Sanbao out like he was dragging a dead dog. 2 warriors came in, grabbed Sha Potion's hands and dragged him out, leaving a long trail of blood on the ground. Chapter 365. On the square, 20,000 soldiers were seated neatly. Cloud Sky City was holding the largest public trial in history. Xu Sanbao was tied to a huge pillar. His entire body was trembling, covered in blood, feces, and urine. Sha Potion's limbs and head were tied up with ropes as he was dragged in the air by 5 war horses. 200 soldiers of the Yang family knelt in a few rows and placed their heads on the guillotine. In addition, not only the soldiers of the Yang family, there were also close to 100 warriors who had committed the same crime. They were all kneeling in front of the guillotine. The entire public trial would take more than 4 hours. As soon as the public trial ended, the execution would be carried out immediately. These hundreds of people would all be executed. Yang Dingtian's ruthlessness made all the nobles present tremble in fear. Originally, when some of the soldiers of the Yang family and a small number of other warriors were about to be executed for committing the same crime, the 20,000 soldiers present still had some emotions. They felt that they had risked their lives to be executed just because of a mistake. It was too unjust. In addition to some of the Lord's instigation, the atmosphere in the square suddenly became very dangerous. If all 20,000 people present rebelled and caused trouble, it would really be impossible to suppress them no matter what. Yang Dingtian walked to the highest point and looked at the surging crowd. He said coldly, "What are you doing here?" Immediately a warrior said, "We are here to save Rose Villa." "You are here to save Rose Villa, but in the end, you are saving yourselves." Yang Dingtian yelled out, "I can say this. The Rose Villa has already been destroyed and not many people have been killed. Many people have also been killed. However, we've exterminated all the beasts of the barbarian race here. We've killed them all. The ones who have benefited are the people of the entire territory. To put it more directly, you have saved your parents, wives, and children. Some people keep saying that you are here to save Rose Villa, so you have worked hard and contributed greatly. Therefore, there is nothing wrong with indulging after the battle. Yang Dingtian angrily rebuked. Nonsense! You are saving yourselves, but you did not save the people of Rose Villa. Look at how many corpses of Rose Villa's people are lying on the ground. If the barbarian beasts continue to spread, then the ones who will be killed, raped, and made into meat will be your parents and relatives. So, let's make one thing clear first. You're not here to save Rose Villa, you're here to save yourselves. As soon as he said this, the 20,000 soldiers immediately quieted down. That's the first point, Yang Dingtian said loudly. Secondly, you said that you came to Rose Villa to exterminate the barbarian army for me, the city lord of Cloud Heaven City. Even more bullshit. Yang Dingtian slammed his fist on the table and said angrily, That's right, I have always had the responsibility to protect the people of my territory. So whether you come or not, I will come. But if you want to say that you came to save Rose Manor and attack the Berserker tribe because of me, then that's completely absurd. Do you know that your lord, my subjects, are all lords? During my enthronement ceremony, no one was loyal to me. Everyone was against me. In other words, I won't be able to get any power from your territories. The barbarian beasts won't be able to attack Cloud Heaven City. The barbarian beasts will only harm the places where your families are. So on the second day, you came here to attack the Berserker tribe, not for me, Yang Dingtian, but for yourselves and for your families. Thirdly, Yang Dingtian sneered, some people say that after the war, you should indulge yourself a little. In any case, you have saved Rose Villa's life, so it's not a big deal to rape a few women and steal a few things. Many people have this view, right? Bullshit, Yang Dingtian said sternly. The barbarians attacked Rose Villa because of its geographical location and also because of a coincidence. Rose Villa and the barbarians have no enmity, which means that if the barbarians can attack Rose Villa, they can also attack other places. That place could very well be your home. Rose Villa represents the entire Cloud Heaven City's 1,000 miles territory. It represents your suffering. From another point of view, the men and women in Rose Villa are the same as your parents, wives, and children. If today the barbarians didn't attack Rose Villa but Iron Sword Sect instead, then the warriors of Iron Sword Sect, after the 20,000 strong army saved your Iron Sword Sect, would you be willing to rape your wives and daughters and steal your things? Men, bring out the victims, Yang Dingtian ordered. Immediately, hundreds of women with tattered clothes staggered out. Every one of them had their faces covered. Yang Dingtian didn't want to hurt them a second time. Yang Dingtian pointed at these girls and spoke loudly. These girls didn't suffer a calamity when the barbarian race invaded the Rose Manor. When you killed all the barbarians, they were overjoyed. They felt that they were saved and treated you as heroes, as benefactors. Who knew that some of you would pounce on them like wild beasts and humiliate them one by one? What if they were your wives or sisters? Would you do that? You might say that they are Rose Villas, not my wives or sisters. However, if they are Rose Villas today, they might be your wives or sisters tomorrow. Do you still feel wronged and want to cause trouble? Yang Dingtian stared at the 20,000 warriors and said coldly, Whoever is dissatisfied and wants to cause trouble, step forward. Immediately, everyone trembled. Of course, no one dared to step forward. All right, I want to execute these people. Whoever is dissatisfied, step forward, Yang Dingtian said sternly. Still, no one stepped forward. All right then. Yang Dingtian suddenly raised his hand and yelled out, Execute them! Execute them all! Swish, 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 swish. Waves of hands raised and swords fell. Blood spurted out. More than 200 people in the Yang family's personal army and more than 100 people who committed rape were all beheaded in public. Immediately after, a torch was lit on Zhu Sanbao's body. This little lord who had viciously defiled Madame Ximen and Yang Dingtian let out a miserable howl. He struggled crazily but was completely engulfed by the flames. Split! Ximen Ju waved his hand. 5 warhorses galloped forward. The new leader of Iron Sword sect, Sha Patian, let out a short miserable howl before he was torn into pieces and died on the spot. Almost every one of the 20,000 warriors present had seen blood before. Many of them had killed people before. However, this was the first time they had seen such a scene. Immediately, their faces turned pale and their bodies trembled. Now, what should you do? Bow and apologize to the 100 or so ladies of Rose Villa, Yang Dingtian said coldly. Immediately, the 20,000 soldiers stood up and bowed to the 100 or so ladies in an orderly manner to express their apology. All warriors, stay where you are. Subjects of each territory, follow me. Yang Dingtian took the lead and walked into the meeting hall. Ximen Ju, Yangjing, Jiao Liao, and Madame Ximen immediately followed. Back in the hall, Yang Dingtian lazily sat on the highest seat and said coldly, "Those who are not willing to be loyal to me, go to the right." Once these words were spoken, the 100 or so vassals present became restless. Ximen Ju took half a step forward and pulled out his sword by half a chi. Who was Ximen Ju? He represented the Northwest Qin city and was now standing on Yang Dingtian's side. His intention of pulling out his sword was very obvious. If anyone dared to stand on the right, then don't blame the sword for being merciless. It must be known that in this great war, there were all sorts of vassals. All the lords had shit on their butts. They were either looting or trying to cause trouble. If they were convicted, they could be easily found out. If they were executed in front of everyone, then it would be too unjust. Therefore, even though there were people who were restless, no one dared to stand on the right. I will count to 3. If no one goes to the right, then I will consider all of you to be loyal to me. Yang Dingtian said coldly. 3. Madame Ximen and Jiao Liao pulled out half of their swords. This was a blatant threat. 2. Yang Dingtian stood up from the throne. 1. Very good. Yang Dingtian took out his golden soul sword and placed it on the ground. He said, "Since you are all willing to be loyal to me, then kneel down and perform the sword-kissing ceremony." Instantly, Ximen Ju stepped forward and kissed Yang Dingtian's sword. Then, Yang Jing stepped forward and kissed Yang Dingtian's sword. With these two taking the lead, the vassals who had relaxed their attitudes also stepped forward and kissed the sword. Soon, the change in quantity led to a change in quality. The 100 or so vassals present lined up one by one and knelt down to ask for Yang Dingtian's sword to show their loyalty. The entire sword-kissing ceremony lasted for about an hour. All the vassals present knelt down to show their loyalty. Good. From today onwards, I have the responsibility to protect all of you. Similarly, all of you have the responsibility to support me. If anyone dares to rebel again, I will punish them according to the law. Yang Dingtian said, "All right, disperse and rest for the night. Tomorrow, we will immediately withdraw and return to the camp." 3 days later, Yang Dingtian returned to Cloud Sky City. On the 4th day, Yang Dingtian and Ximen Ju handed over Black Blood Castle. All the Qin City warriors in Black Blood Castle returned to Northwest Qin City through various channels. Ximen Ju led a team to the Abyss Castle to guard the border between Cloud Sky City and Northwest Qin City. Immediately after, Yang Dingtian gave the order for Ximen Lai to be the Black Blood Castle Lord and the Black Blood Cavalry Commander. More than 2,000 Black Blood Cavalry troops were expanded to 5,000 men and once again stationed in Black Blood Castle. Finally, Black Blood Castle, which had fallen for almost 2 years, returned to the hands of Ximen Lai's Black Blood Cavalry. When they entered the city, Ximen Lai, who was a tough man, couldn't help but tear up. After the handover, the Northwest Qin City's forces on the surface were completely chased out of Cloud Sky City's territory. In fact, after Yang Dingtian went to Rose Villa, Ximen Ju led the army. Shimen Lai led the army and completely cleaned up the area within 100 miles of Cloud Sky City. He got rid of all the flies and dogs, making the area within 100 miles of Cloud Sky City clean and tidy. Yang Dingtian sat on the golden throne in the Cloud Sky Grand Hall again. Looking at the missing members of the Elder Guild, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but sigh. Even though the process was very dangerous, difficult, and filled with helplessness, he still managed to do it. But he still did it. He finally had complete control over Cloud Sky City. Yan Yen, Yen Bieli, Zwaboning, and Renduant Sung, the 4 opponents of Yang Dingtian, were all dead. Yan Jing, the core leader of the opposition group, was completely crippled and was now under house arrest. Shimin Ju, the spokesperson of Northwest Jin City, was chased out of the core of power by Yang Dingtian. He still had the Elder Guild's name, but he had already gone to the Abyss Castle. Therefore, the only members of the Elder Guild were Madame Shimin, Yang Peipei, Shimin Lai, Jiao Liao, and Mu Lianqing. They were all on his side. Including the Elder of the Scripture Pavilion who had always been neutral, there were only 7 people in the Elder Guild of Cloud Sky City. Yang Dingtian said, "In a few days I will be leading a team to the Northwest Jin City for a marriage alliance. Therefore, there are some things that need to be settled first. The first thing is to fill up the Elder Guild." Yang Dingtian said, "This is my opinion. For now, we will not add anyone to the Elder Guild. However, we need to introduce mobile Elder Guild members. There will be a total of 3 non-permanent elders, and each term will be 2 years. They will be filled by the outstanding lords of Cloud Sky City. If any of the lords becomes an elder on duty, they will distribute elixirs and allow their disciples to enter the Cloud Sky City's Scripture Pavilion to learn." Once these words were spoken, everyone's eyes trembled slightly as they looked at each other. The second thing is to rotate the garrison of Cloud Sky City's army. For example, the Rose Manor's army can be stationed at the Iron Sword Sect. The Iron Sword Sect's army can even be stationed at Cloud Sky City. The Cloud Sky City's army can also be stationed at any other territory. Regularly mobilize the troops and carry out armed drills. Yang Dingtian said, "Let the high-level warriors in Cloud Sky City's territory move as well. Let the high-level warriors in the territory come to Cloud Sky City to cultivate and take up positions. Let the high-level warriors and officers of Cloud Sky City take up positions in the various territories and lead the army." Once these words were spoken, everyone knew what Yang Dingtian wanted to do. He wanted to take away the power of the vassals in the territory. He wanted to completely take over Cloud Sky City's territory. Just like the Northwest Jin City, he wanted to hold all the power of the territory in his hands. Once he succeeded, the vassals in Cloud Sky City's territory would become ordinary military officers of Cloud Sky City. Cloud Sky City would truly control 1 million people, 1,000 miles of land, and tens of thousands of warriors. Regardless of whether it was the rotation of the garrison of the army, or the rotation of the officers, they all had to dig into the foundation of the vassals in the territory. Shimin Lai bowed and said, "City Lord, everything you said is an excellent method. It can fundamentally take away the power of the vassals. However, there is no doubt that they will not cooperate with your plan. Whether it is the rotation of the garrison of the army or the rotation of the high-level warriors, they will not cooperate. This time, on the surface, they knelt and pledged their loyalty to you, but that was forced. Many of them are still opposed to you in their hearts." Yang Dingtian nodded and said, "I know. If I want them to be loyal to me and respect me, I will have to surpass the level of a high-level master. However, if I want them to cooperate with my garrison of the army, the long-term training of the army, and the rotation of the high-level warriors, they will not be afraid of me. Besides making them fear me, I can also give them great benefits so that they will take the initiative to come forward and complete my plan." "What benefits?" Shimin Lai asked. "The Celestial Qi Condensation Purification Array," Yang Dingtian said. "As long as Cloud Sky City builds this heaven-defying object, all the experts in Cloud Sky City's territory will flock to it like a flock of ducks. They will all curry favor and pledge their loyalty." When these words came out, everyone was even more shocked. With this kind of array, anyone would be able to achieve twice the results with half the effort. However, this kind of array was currently only available to Yin Yang School, Black Heaven Sect, and a few other forces. The amount of treasures, money, and demonic cores used to build this formation was astronomical. It could be said that with Cloud Sky City's financial resources, they would not be able to build it even if they sold it 10 times. However, once it was built, the power of the entire sect would increase by leaps and bounds. Now, Yang Dingtian actually said that he wanted to build this kind of array. How could they not be shocked? Yin Yang School, the Black Heaven Sect, spent decades to build this array. How could Cloud Sky City, which had such a weak foundation, be able to build it? However, with this thing, Cloud Sky City would have an unparalleled cohesiveness and centripetal force. Yang Dingtian could completely divide the relationship between the feudal lords and the warriors under them. He could completely take over the feudal lords and completely control the thousands of miles of Cloud Sky City's territory, millions of people, and tens of thousands of warriors. City Lord, if I remember correctly, with the power of Qin City, this array took a full 20 years to build and was only completed recently. Compared to Qin City, Cloud Sky City's power is extremely weak and is not even 1/10 of Qin City's. How easy would it be to build a celestial qi condensation purification array? Shimin Lai said. Yang Dingtian said, Big brother, don't worry. I already have a different understanding of this array and have some confidence in it. If there are no accidents, it should be completed within a year. The day this array is completed will be the day Cloud Sky City rises. When these words came out, everyone present was incomparably excited. Yang Dingtian did not boast or lie. If this celestial qi condensation purification array could be completed within a year, it would truly be the time for Cloud Sky City to soar. Why did Northwest Qin City put in all their effort and spend 20 years to build this array? Qin Wanzhou wanted to become one of the 3 great sects in the world. Because among the forces in the world, only Yin Yang School and Black Heaven Sect had this array. Every time Yin Yang School and Black Heaven Sect opened up an extremely small number of spots to enter the array to cultivate, it completely shocked all the forces in the world. A large part of the reason why the entire world worshipped Yin Yang School and Black Heaven Sect was because of this celestial qi condensation purification array. With this array, anyone's cultivation time could be directly reduced by more than half. How heaven-defying was this? With this array, Cloud Sky City would be able to create a few grandmasters in just a few years. This time, when I go to Northwest Qin City, I might be able to get the key item needed for this array, Yang Dingtian said. Madam Shimin said worriedly. Little Tian, are you really going to Qin City? Qin Wanzhou and his son are despicable and shameless. If you go, I'm really worried about your safety. Don't worry, Yang Dingtian said. I will use all my strength to announce to the world that I, Yang Dingtian, will be going to Northwest Qin City for a marriage alliance. Moreover, there will be a large number of Tiando League members accompanying me. I hope so, Madam Shimin said, but her beautiful eyes were still filled with worry. At night, Yang Dingtian had been cultivating with his eyes closed in Shimin Ningning's wooden house in the valley, waiting for a few days to go to Qin City for a marriage alliance. Master, Tang Buizhao wishes to see you, Zhang Lang said outside. I won't see him, Yang Dingtian said coldly. Ever since Yang Yan died and Yang Jing was crippled, Tang Buizhao was like a stray dog, living in fear all day long. Master, he's kneeling outside, saying that he must see you no matter what. Then, whether you beat him or kill him, it's up to you, Zhang Lang said. I said I won't see him, so I won't see him, Yang Dingtian said. Then, Yang Dingtian continued to close his eyes and cultivate. Zhang Lang's voice came from outside. Suddenly, Tang Buizhao shouted into the valley. City Lord, I have the most important secret to report. Please see me. Yang Dingtian ignored him. Tang Buizhao hissed. It's about Shimin Ningning. I'm the only one who knows this secret. I've never told anyone. Yang Dingtian's eyes suddenly trembled, and then he shouted in a low voice. Zhang Lang, let him in. Soon, Tang Buizhao appeared in front of Yang Dingtian with a fawning and extremely servile face. He knelt down and cowed out. Sinner Tang Buizhao greets my master. Not the city lord, but my master. The thickness of this Tang Buizhao's skin was really unparalleled. Yang Dingtian said coldly. Speak about Shimin Ningning. Tang Buizhao said respectfully. My master, please wait a moment. Then, he ran out and came in with a cloth bag on his shoulder. It was obvious that there was a woman inside, a woman with a very seductive figure. Yang Dingtian's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Shimin Ningning was inside? About Miss Shimin Ningning's secret, it was my wife who discovered it. Let her tell you alone, Tang Buizhao said. By the way, let her serve you well. Then, he opened the cloth bag and revealed the woman inside. Mature and gorgeous, she was somewhat similar to Yang Shishir and Yang Pei. She was indeed Tang Buizhao's wife, Yang Qingqing. In order to survive, Tang Buizhao, the scum, actually gave his wife to Yang Dingtian. Chapter 366. Yang Dingtian led close to 1,000 men to retire from the army and followed Qin Huaiyu to the northwest Qin city to marry Qin Jiajiao. However, none of the experts from the direct line of descent came, only Tang Buizhao. In addition, Li Gainong was the matchmaker, and Mu Lianyi was the personal maid, taking care of Yang Dingtian's daily life. The distance from Cloud Heaven City to the northwest Qin city was 3,000 to 4,000 miles, but they didn't encounter any trouble. Because the first 1,000 miles was Cloud Heaven City's territory, and the last 3,000 miles was northwest Qin City's territory. It was very obvious that none of them had the guts to find trouble with Yang Dingtian and Qin Huaiyu. Along the way, Yang Dingtian spent most of his time with Yang Dingtian. They either played chess or practiced sword techniques together. In short, the two didn't talk about the past or business, but they actually got along very well. In other words, Qin Huaiyu was the young man that Yang Dingtian got along with the most. Whether it was chatting or playing chess, it was like a spring breeze. Things in this world were really unpredictable. Yang Dingtian and Qin Huaiyu were originally the biggest enemies, but now, they were chatting and laughing all day, as if they were best friends. 2 days later, Yang Dingtian and Qin Huaiyu's troops would pass by the Abyss Castle. At night, they would rest in the Abyss Castle and pass by the border pontoon bridge tomorrow morning. Abyss Castle Master Shimin Ju greets the city lord. Shimin Ju led all the officers of the Abyss Castle and knelt at the entrance to welcome the city lord. Yang Dingtian helped him up and said, Second brother Shimin, no need to be so courteous. City lord, young Lord Qin, I have already prepared a banquet in the castle to welcome the city lord. Shimin Ju said. Yang Dingtian nodded and said to Qin Huaiyu and Li Gainong, Big brother Qin, Marshal Uncle Li, please. Yang Dingtian, Li Gainong, Qin Huaiyu, and the others entered the Abyss Castle. Yang Dingtian led 1,000 cavalry troops and arranged them in the huge Abyss Castle. At the banquet that night, Yang Dingtian sat in the center with Li Gainong on his left and Qin Huaiyu on his right. During the banquet, Qin Huaiyu was very good at drinking. He repeatedly toasted Yang Dingtian and also repeatedly toasted Li Gainong. As for Tang Buizhao, he actually didn't have Qin Huaiyu or Shimin Ju in his eyes. He dedicated all his attentions to Yang Dingtian. He toasted him repeatedly, sang for Yang Dingtian, and even danced for Yang Dingtian. From the looks of it, Tang Buizhao was the most loyal person in Cloud Sky City. Qin Huaiyu didn't mock him. Instead, he applauded and cheered. After interacting with Qin Huaiyu for the past few days, Yang Dingtian realized that when Qin Huaiyu wasn't scheming to harm people, he was a great friend. Mu Lianyi, who was serving beside Yang Dingtian, couldn't stand seeing Qin Huaiyu like this. She couldn't help but mock. Young Lord Qin, Uncle Li's wooden sword castle has already been occupied by your northwest Qin city's army. My big sister Shui Hongxiao doesn't have a home anymore, and has been crying all day. Please be merciful and spare Uncle Li's family. Yang Dingtian frowned and glanced at Mu Lianyi. What's wrong? You slept with her, and now I can't even mention it. Mu Lianyi said angrily. Yang Dingtian said. All right, you must be tired from the journey. Go back and rest. I won't, Mu Lianyi said. Young Lord Qin, I want to ask you. What do you want for you to be willing to return Wooden Sword Castle to Uncle Li's family? Yang Dingtian and Qin Huaiyu were working together to deal with Qin Chichi. This was something that many people were aware of. However, apart from Yang Dingtian, Qin Huaiyu, Li Gainong, and Shimin Ju, there were also many officers from the Abyss Castle. This kind of thing couldn't be exposed. Immediately, Yang Dingtian frowned and said, Mu Lianyi, go back to your room immediately. Otherwise, go back to Cloud Sky City. I don't need you to serve me anymore. If I don't want to serve you, then so be it. What's the big deal? Mu Lianyi cried and then stepped on Yang Dingtian's foot. She wiped her tears and ran back to her room. In fact, ever since Yang Dingtian decided to marry Northwest Qin City, no one said anything. Even Yan Yan only teased Yang Dingtian a little. She even felt that Yang Dingtian was greatly wrong, so she used the most exaggerated posture to serve Yang Dingtian for several nights. However, Mu Lianyi always appeared to be very angry and didn't give Yang Dingtian any face these days. This time, Yang Dingtian originally didn't want to bring Mu Lianyi to Qin City. It was Yan Yan who arranged it. Qin Huaiyu sighed and toasted Li Gainong. Marshal Uncle Li, regarding Wooden Sword Castle, I will definitely think of a way to give you an explanation. Li Gainong smiled and drank the wine. At night, Yang Dingtian returned to his room to rest. Mu Lianyi was bending over to tidy up the bed for Yang Dingtian. Lianyi, if it's for myself, I definitely won't compromise and collude with Qin City, Yang Dingtian said. But for Qin City, for the Qin City that is still relatively weak, I'm willing to do this. I thought you would understand. I'm just a lowly maid. Why do you have to explain to me? Mu Lianyi said. Okay, if you want to blame and scold me, you can do it in front of me. But after we go to Qin City, don't say it. It will bring you danger, Yang Dingtian said. No need. Tomorrow morning, I will return to Cloud Sky City, Mu Lianyi said coldly. Okay, that's good too, Yang Dingtian said. Mu Lianyi stepped forward and took off Yang Dingtian's clothes and changed into soft pajamas. After Yang Dingtian went to bed, Mu Lianyi lay down on the bed in the outer room. From beginning to end, she didn't give Yang Dingtian a good look. Yang Dingtian closed his eyes and cultivated. He treated it as if he was sleeping. In the middle of the night, Yang Dingtian suddenly felt a cold and fragrant aura. Instantly, the hair on his body stood up and he opened his eyes. He saw a beautiful figure standing in front of the bed. It was Dongfang Bingling. She actually appeared here. Junior sister. Yang Dingtian got off the bed and said, Why are you here? Dongfang Bingling stared at Yang Dingtian with her beautiful eyes. Are you going to the Northwest Qin City to form a marriage alliance? Yang Dingtian nodded. Do you have to go? Dongfang Bingling asked. Yes, junior sister, Yang Dingtian said. Qin City is too powerful. I'm not strong enough now. I can only protect Cloud Sky City through this method. Northwest Qin City colluded with evil ways. You won't be able to clear your name in the future, Dongfang Bingling said. Junior sister, it's hard to say what the future will be like, Yang Dingtian said. But don't worry. I will definitely stand on the side of justice. Then Yang Dingtian smiled. You came here in the middle of the night just to denounce me? Dongfang Bingling shook her head and said, I'm here to ask you, when are you going to collect the Mystic Vein Essence? About a month later, Yang Dingtian said. Okay, I'll wait for you in the swamp of the Land of Chaos, Dongfang Bingling said. Yang Dingtian was slightly stunned, then said, Thank you, junior sister. Yang Dingtian knew that the Mystic Vein Essence that was about to mature was in the Yin-Yang realm in the extreme north. To reach that place, he had to pass through thousands of miles of Evil Ways territory. Although Yang Dingtian was already a martial honorable, it was still too dangerous for him to pass through thousands of miles of Evil Ways territory alone. And Dongfang Bingling was a master realm expert. If he went with her, his safety would be guaranteed. Okay, then I'll be leaving, Dongfang Bingling said. Then, her delicate body gently floated and was about to fly away. Junior sister, please wait, Yang Dingtian said. Then, he took out a few elixirs of holy water from his space ring and handed them over. Junior sister, although you're very powerful, just in case, you should keep these elixirs with you, Dongfang Bingling said. I don't need them. Then, she was about to leave. I told you to take them, so take them. Yang Dingtian went forward and grabbed her small hand, placing the elixirs in her palm. Dongfang Bingling's small hand was cold, smooth, and soft like jade. When he touched it, he felt like he had been electrocuted. Yang Dingtian's body trembled slightly, then he let go of her hand. Dongfang Bingling's delicate body also trembled slightly. Then, a beautiful figure flashed, and Dongfang Bingling directly disappeared in front of his eyes. Only an enchanting fragrance was left in the air. It was strange that Yang Dingtian had seen every part of Dongfang Bingling's body countless times, and even touched it countless times. He couldn't be more clear, even clearer than Yan Yan's body. However, Dongfang Bingling was still incomparably mysterious in Yang Dingtian's heart. Although he didn't know how many times he had washed her body. But at this moment, just touching her hand was like being electrocuted. The next day, Yang Dingtian and Qin Huaiyu led 1,000 people through the border that had been sealed off and entered the territory of the northwest Qin city. After a 7-day-long journey, Yang Dingtian once again arrived at the Qin city. However, Yang Dingtian and Qin Huaiyu didn't enter the city. Instead, they stayed in a manor outside the city. Yang Dingtian, before entering the city, I have a question to ask you. In a pavilion beside a pond, 2 people were playing chess. Qin Huaiyu said as he placed a piece. Okay, go ahead, Yang Dingtian said. What is your dream? Qin Huaiyu asked. Is it the kind of dream that says how high it is? Yang Dingtian asked. Qin Huaiyu nodded and said, It's this kind of dream. Regardless of whether it can be achieved or not, this is the ultimate goal in the depths of my heart. To find the truth of the ancient world's destruction. Yang Dingtian said. To find a way to save this world and completely change the situation of this world. To nationalize martial arts, suppress martial arts, encourage production, and promote equality for everyone in this world as much as possible. You once told my father the latter half. Qin Huaiyu said. Yes. Yang Dingtian said. Then, if we eliminate the Tiando League and the evil ways, unify the entire world, completely suppress the martial arts, and nationalize all the armed forces, do you want to be the supreme ruler of this world? Qin Huaiyu said. What do you think the supreme ruler of this world should be called? In the current situation, it's very difficult to unify the world. The chaotic continent is too big. It will become many countries. Yang Dingtian said. That supreme ruler is the emperor. All right, then do you want to be the emperor? Qin Huaiyu asked. Yang Dingtian shook his head and said, First of all, in our lifetime, we might not be able to see martial arts completely suppressed. Secondly, perhaps I don't know what I want to do, but I definitely don't want to be the emperor. To put it in the most shameless way, what I want is to be respected by everyone, and every word that comes out of my mouth is supreme power. However, I have never used this power myself. I only need to know that I have changed many things in this world and that many people worship me. It's completely enough. Then Yang Dingtian smiled embarrassedly and said, You're not allowed to laugh at me. I said that ideals are to follow the highest and ultimate goal, so I said it in the most shameless way. Qin Huaiyu laughed and said, That's right, your goal is too far. It's even greater than my father's goal. The next day, Yang Dingtian entered the northwest Qin city. At this moment, there were already many guests in the Qin city. However, this time was obviously different from Qin Wanchou's birthday. During Qin Wanchou's birthday banquet, all the forces in the chaotic continent were present to celebrate. This time, for Qin Jiaojiao's wedding, all the forces in the northwest continent came. In the inner city, Yang Dingtian formally greeted Qin Wanchou in the main hall. He used honorifics and said, Son-in-law Yang Dingtian greets father-in-law. The other party obviously knew that Yang Dingtian was Shen Lang and that Shen Lang had schemed against Qin Wanchou before. Of course, in reality, he was schemed against by Qin Wanchou. However, from Qin Wanchou's words, it was as if he didn't know that Yang Dingtian was Shen Lang and didn't mention anything about Shen Lang. Furthermore, Qin Wanchou's attitude towards Yang Dingtian was neither good nor bad, either cold nor warm. However, it was still somewhat cold and couldn't be mentioned in the same breath as his attitude towards Shen Lang. As for Yang Dingtian and Qin Huaiyu colluding to deal with Qin Chichi, Qin Wanchou obviously knew about it. He didn't approve nor disapprove and just watched. Obviously, as long as the competition between Qin Huaiyu and Qin Chichi didn't cross the line, he was happy to see it. After meeting Qin Wanchou in a very formal manner, Yang Dingtian returned to his residence to rest. That's right, Yang Dingtian already had a residence in the Qin city. Because he was about to marry Qin Jiajiao and become Qin Wanchou's son-in-law, he was considered half a master in the Qin city and also had a very large residence. The entire residence was over 100 acres and had a few hundred houses. What was rare and commendable was that the entire residence was completely empty at this moment, and there wasn't a single person in the Qin city. After Yang Dingtian and his subordinates entered the residence for 1,000 years, they didn't even have half a spy. From the chefs to the guards, they were all Yang Dingtian's men. In the afternoon, Yang Dingtian sent out invitations and invited all the influential people in the Qin city to attend the banquet at the Yang residence. At night, Yang Dingtian's banquet officially began. Qin Huaiyu brought his wife, Ning Roer, and was the first to arrive. However, little Ningning didn't come for some reason. When she saw Yang Dingtian, Ning Roer was slightly startled and then said gently, "We meet again, little brother." Ning Roer's attitude was very natural and was still as gentle as water. Qin Huaiyu looked at Ning Roer lovingly and said with a smile, "Now we are even closer. You're right to call me little brother. Isn't brother-in-law your little brother? Big brother, sister-in-law, please come in." Yang Dingtian led Qin Huaiyu and Ning Roer in. "Little brother, did you invite Aunt Mingli and Jiaojiao?" Qin Huaiyu asked. Yang Dingtian replied, "I invited Aunt Mingli but not Jiaojiao." That's good, that's good." Qin Huaiyu smiled and then whispered into Yang Dingtian's ear, "Little brother, come with me." Yang Dingtian immediately followed. Qin Huaiyu said with a serious face, "Little brother, father expressed great dissatisfaction with me today. I'm not in a good situation now." Yang Dingtian asked. "What happened?" Qin Huaiyu said. "He has no problem with you supporting me. He has no problem with you marrying Jiaojiao. He even has no problem with us working together against that demonist Qin Chichi. However, we cannot harm Qin City's interests. He thinks that we have crossed the line by stopping Qin Chichi from controlling the southwest mainland. We have harmed Qin City's interests." With regards to this point, Yang Dingtian wasn't surprised. He asked, "Then which point does Sect Master Qin object to?" Qin Huaiyu said, "He thinks that the previous pavilion master of the Sky Phoenix Pavilion is too unruly and difficult to control. If we save her and let her regain control of the Sky Phoenix Pavilion, Qin City will not be able to control the Sky Phoenix Pavilion and will not be able to truly control the southwest mainland." Yang Dingtian said, "But we have already been kind. Duan Ruyan regaining control of the Sky Phoenix Pavilion is only temporary. When the time comes, the Sky Phoenix Pavilion master will be my sister-in-law, Ning Roer. Your sister-in-law is 29 years old this year. Her cultivation has completely disappeared a few years ago. However, even though she is the #1 genius of the southwest mainland, she was only a martial ancestor before her cultivation disappeared. How difficult would it be for her to become the Sky Phoenix Pavilion master?" Qin Huaiyu said. Yang Dingtian asked. "Then, has sister-in-law been cultivating in the past few years?" Qin Huaiyu said. "Although she has lost all her cultivation, she has been cultivating even harder than I have." Yang Dingtian said. "Then, if sister-in-law can break through to Martial Venerable in 1 or 2 years, can she become the Sky Phoenix Pavilion master? For example, she is no longer a virgin. Will the fact that she once gave birth be a fatal obstacle? That won't happen, Qin Huaiyu said. Actually, the Sky Phoenix Pavilion does not have a rule that states that one cannot lose their virginity or have children. However, once they lost their virginity and became pregnant, the martial arts that they practiced would dissipate from their bodies. Therefore, not losing their virginity and not getting pregnant seems to have become their heavenly rule. Then, Qin Huaiyu said, if Rower can break through to Martial Venerable in 1 or 2 years, then, within 10 years, she will be able to break through to Master. She will become the youngest Master in the history of the Sky Phoenix Pavilion. Becoming the Sky Phoenix Pavilion Master will be a matter of course. Yang Dingtian said, That's good. Then I know what to do. After my wedding with Jiao, I will immediately restore sister-in-law's cultivation. Qin Huaiyu said, It's too late. It's best if she can recover today and let father see the results tomorrow. Otherwise, he won't let us save Duan Rian. But that will take a long time. I have to entertain guests tonight. Yang Dingtian said, I will help you entertain the guests. Now go restore your sister-in-law's cultivation. Qin Huaiyu said, This is the most important thing. Yang Dingtian said, There's one more thing. When I restore sister-in-law's cultivation, it's inevitable that I will offend her. Let's not talk about this. Am I such a pedantic person? Qin Huaiyu waved his hand and said to Ning Rower, Rower, go with Yang Dingtian and let him help you restore your cultivation. No matter what he asks you to do, do it, understand? Ning Rower nodded and said gently, Yes, husband. At this moment, the guest usher outside shouted, Madam Qin Mengli has arrived. Qin Huaiyu said, Brother, quickly bring sister-in-law over. Otherwise, you won't be able to get away. Yang Dingtian cupped his hands at Qin Huaiyu and then brought Ning Rower to the secret basement. This secret basement was built under a pool. It seemed that all the secret rooms in the northwest Qin city liked to be built under water. In the secret room, there were only Yang Dingtian and Ning Rower. The entire secret room was instantly filled with Ning Rower's unique body fragrance. She was still so beautiful and graceful, full and gentle. Sister Ning, when I restore your cultivation later, there might be some intimacy. I might even touch your body. Yang Dingtian said. Ning Rower blushed slightly and said, I treat you as my brother. Why would I mind? Yang Dingtian asked again. How's little Ningning? She's very good, but she misses you a lot. She's not close to her father. Ning Ro said, She wants you every day. Then Ning Ro smiled and said, All right, brother, stop chatting. Let's begin. Yang Dingtian blushed and said, All right then. Do you want all of it? Ning Ro asked shyly. Yang Dingtian nodded in embarrassment. Chapter 367. The golden sword light flashed and blood splattered everywhere. Qin Jiaojiao's sword made. Qiu Ning's beautiful head was directly chopped off and flew into the sky. Blood spurted out from her neck like a fountain, and after a few seconds, her graceful body fell straight to the ground. Yang Dingtian sheathed his sword and shook the reins, charging into Qin Jiaojiao's embroidery room. After entering Qin Jiaojiao's building, he was met with dozens of shocked gazes. Inside, there were only women. Some were young, some were mature. Every woman was wearing a mask. Some had Yang Peipei's face painted on them, while others had Shimin Yanyan's face painted on them. The women wearing Yang Peipei's mask were dressed in extremely revealing clothing and were putting on a completely unbearable performance. Among the crowd, there were a few women wearing Yang Dingtian's mask and the clothes he often wore. Originally, as long as Yang Dingtian entered, these people would pretend to be Yang Dingtian, Shimin Yanyan, and Yang Peipei and put on all kinds of unbearable performances to mock Yang Dingtian and Mrs. Shimin's illicit relationship. But after Yang Dingtian chopped off Qin Jiaojiao's sword made Qiu Ning's head at the door, there was a deathly silence inside. Seeing Yang Dingtian enter, these women's eyes were filled with fear and their legs trembled. How would they dare to put on an unbearable performance to disgust Yang Dingtian? Yang Dingtian stopped his war horse and slowly pulled out his golden soul sword. In an instant, the dozens of women present trembled and half of them felt their legs go soft. They were almost paralyzed from fear. City Lord Yang, spare us, spare us! Then, the dozens of women knelt down and cowed out continuously. Yang Dingtian shook off the blood on his sword and sheathed it. He said coldly, "The next time I see someone humiliating my wife, my mother-in-law, no matter who instigated it or forced it, I will tear her into pieces. Do you understand? Hee hee." At this moment, a sneer came from the embroidery building. Qin Jiaojia walked out and said in disdain, "How impressive! Unfortunately, this isn't your Cloud Heaven city, but my Northwest Qin city." Afterward, Qin Jiaojiao stared sternly at the women who were kneeling on the ground and spoke in a cold voice. "What are you all kneeling for? Get up and put on a good show for me. Let everyone see Yang Dingtian and Yang Pei's disgraceful behavior." However, none of the maids kneeling on the ground dared to stand up. Yang Dingtian looked at Qin Jiaojiao. She was the bride today, but she wasn't wearing a red dress. Instead, she was wearing a white dress with a white flower in her hair. The meaning behind this was even more vicious. This was a mourning dress for a man, a dress for a dead husband. This Qin Jiaojiao hadn't married Yang Dingtian yet, but she had already cursed Yang Dingtian to die. Yang Dingtian's eyes narrowed and said coldly, "You, go change your clothes and follow me to the Qin palace to get married?" "Get married?" Qin Jiaojiao sneered. "With you? Are you worthy?" Then Qin Jiaojiao sneered. "If you want me to get married, sure. I'll wear this widow's dress. I think it looks good." Yang Dingtian took a step forward and said coldly, "Go change your clothes, now. Get lost, stay away from me." Qin Jiaojiao said coldly. "Slap." Yang Dingtian gave her a tight slap. Qin Jiaojiao was instantly sent flying for more than 10 meters, slamming into the wall and falling down. "I don't hit women, but I hit my wife," Yang Dingtian said coldly. "Yan Yan was beaten by me before. The more I hit her, the more I loved her. The more I hit her, the more my heart ached. When I hit you, I hit your face. The more I hit you, the more disgusted I feel." Qin Jiaojiao crawled up from the ground and half of her face immediately swelled up. Blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. She looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief and hissed, "Bastard, you dare to hit me? If it wasn't for the fact that you will become my wife, I would have killed you with my sword," Yang Dingtian said coldly. Then, Yang Dingtian's palm sucked Xiao Ning's severed head into his palm and threw it at Qin Jiaojiao. "I don't care if you insult me, but you deserve to die for insulting my wife," Yang Dingtian sneered. "Sword servant Qiu, your mouth is cheap but your heart is venomous. I killed you with my sword." When Qin Jiaojiao saw Xiao Ning's severed head, her eyes widened in shock. Xiao Ning was her sword servant, and the niece of the Autumn Water Sword sect master. She was actually killed by Yang Dingtian with a single sword in the northwest Qin city. Qin Jiaojiao looked at Yang Dingtian in disbelief. Yang Dingtian threw Xiao Ning's head over and it hit her chest, causing her to fall to the ground. Half a minute later, she screamed at Yang Dingtian. "Yang Dingtian, you actually killed my sword servant. I won't let you leave this place alive. I will ask my father to tear you into pieces. I will ask my men to destroy your Cloud Heaven city. I will ask my men to take your wife, your mother-in-law." Before Qin Jiaojiao could finish cursing, Yang Dingtian swung his sword and slapped Qin Jiaojiao's delicate face. The slap was extremely vicious, causing Qin Jiaojiao to fly a few meters up and fall down. "Qin Jiaojiao, I'm warning you. If you dare to humiliate Yan Yan again, I will smash all your teeth and cut your tongue into pieces. I will then force you to eat it all. I mean what I say," Yang Dingtian said coldly. Half of Qin Jiaojiao's face was already swollen. She crawled up and looked at Yang Dingtian with eyes filled with hatred. She said coldly, "Yang Dingtian, I will make sure you die in Qin City. I will torture you until you beg for death. I hope you have the ability," Yang Dingtian said coldly. "But now, go and change into a red wedding dress for me. In your dreams," Qin Jiaojiao said coldly. Yang Dingtian went up and grabbed Qin Jiaojiao like a little chick. "What are you doing?" Qin Jiaojiao asked in shock. Yang Dingtian grabbed her clothes and tore them apart. In an instant her clothes were torn into pieces. Then he said to the maids kneeling on the ground, "All of you, go in and take out her red wedding dress. Help Qin Jiaojiao change into it, and dress her up. If you don't dress her up properly in half an hour, I will chop off your hands." "Yes." The dozens of maids on the ground answered in unison. Then they rushed into the embroidery building with the fastest speed and took out all kinds of tools and Qin Jiaojiao's clothes. Qin Jiaojiao wanted to curse out loud and curse viciously. Yang Dingtian grabbed her chin and pulled, dislocating it. Qin Jiaojiao couldn't curse at all. She could only look at Yang Dingtian with hatred. The raging flames almost burned her to a crisp. Then Qin Jiaojiao, whose mystic meridians were locked, was like a puppet as the dozens of maids bathed her. Then they put on the red wedding dress one by one. Finally, they started to put makeup on her face. However, the right side of her face was already red and swollen. This caused her originally beautiful and gorgeous face to look extremely out of place at this moment. But under Yang Dingtian's pressure, the maids still put makeup on her, making her face look a little strange. After dressing up, the incense finished burning. Suddenly, the dozens of maids collapsed to the ground. At this moment, Yang Dingtian could bring Qin Jiaojiao to the main hall of the Qin Palace to attend the wedding. Yang Dingtian glanced at Qin Jiaojiao, whose face was half swollen, and said, "Go get a big piece of silk." "Yes." A maid quickly ran into the embroidery building, then quickly took it out and handed it to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian covered Qin Jiaojiao's head with this piece of red silk, covering her unsightly face. There was no custom of covering the head when getting married in the primal chaos continent. This coincided with the weddings on Earth. Afterward, Yang Dingtian grabbed Qin Jiaojiao and sat her in front of him before galloping the horse and leaving her courtyard. They rushed out of the Qin castle and didn't encounter any obstructions. They galloped all the way and didn't miss the auspicious hour. Under the protection of 2,000 festive cavalrymen and the cheers of the commoners on both sides of the road, Yang Dingtian and his entourage entered the Qin palace with the bride in their arms. At this moment, the entire Qin palace was brightly lit. Every warrior and maid was wearing red armor and dresses to celebrate Qin Jiaojiao's wedding. After entering the Qin palace, there were palace lanterns everywhere, and the ground was covered with bright red flowers. The square was densely packed with people who were watching the ceremony. These people weren't qualified to enter the main hall, and they were all outstanding warriors from the Qin city territory. Tonight they had no wine to drink, no meat to eat, and no seats to sit on. But they were still incomparably excited and felt incomparably honored. This was because the few thousand of them were the best selected from the hundreds of thousands of warriors under the Qin city. Only then were they qualified to attend today's ceremony. After entering the square, Yang Dingtian dismounted from his horse and directly carried Qin Jiaojiao in his arms. Instantly, the few thousand warriors in the square looked at Yang Dingtian with fervent and envious gazes. To them, Qin Jiaojiao was completely high up and unattainable. Now, Yang Dingtian actually carried such a noble and beautiful woman in his arms and completely owned her. Of course, Yang Dingtian's identity was also unattainable to them. The wedding was held in the second main hall of the Qin palace, and not the central main hall that was used for Qin Wanchou's birthday banquet. The second main hall was the first main hall in the center of the sleeping quarters, and it was right in front of them. The main hall stood on the 99 steps, and each step was over 30 centimeters long. The huge palace stood on the base of the stairs that were over 30 meters high, and looked incomparably majestic. At this moment, the 99 steps were completely covered with fresh flowers, leaving only a 3-meter path in the middle that was covered with a golden carpet. Yang Dingtian carried Qin Jiaojiao and walked up the steps. At this moment, hundreds of banquet tables were set up in the main hall and hundreds of distinguished guests were already waiting. Step by step, Yang Dingtian carried Qin Jiaojiao and walked up the 99 steps. When they stepped onto the last step, suddenly, cannons roared and drums and zither played in unison. Hundreds of women sang in unison. thousands of beautiful phoenixes were released into the sky. "The bride and groom have arrived!" the MC shouted. Immediately, all the guests in the main hall stood up to welcome them. Yang Dingtian put Qin Jiajiao down because the two of them were going to hold hands and walk into the main hall for the ceremony. However, there were many guests at this moment, and Qin Jiajiao was afraid that she would cause trouble on the spot. "If you want to cause trouble, I will immediately remove your veil and let everyone see your ugly appearance," Yang Dingtian said. Then, he pulled her hand and walked inside. Qin Jiajiao's body stiffened at first, then she followed Yang Dingtian inside. It was unknown if Yang Dingtian's threat was effective or if she had other thoughts. When the guests saw that Qin Jiajiao was still wearing a veil, they couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Then, they felt that the mood was even more beautiful and couldn't help but praise in their hearts. Qin City was indeed Qin City, even the wedding was so extraordinary. Yang Dingtian walked to the end of the main hall and there were 4 seats placed at the highest point. These 4 seats were for the parents of the bride and groom respectively. At this moment, they were all empty. This was because Yang Dingtian's parents were on Earth. Originally, the master and master's wife could sit, but the master, Dong Fang Minmi, was no longer around and the master's wife was tens of thousands of miles away. "Bride and groom, kneel and invite the elders," the matchmaker, Li Gainong, said loudly. Yang Dingtian pulled Qin Jiajiao and walked towards the right side hall. Qin Wanzhou and his wife, Qiu Shuihan, were in the side hall, waiting for Yang Dingtian and Qin Jiajiao to invite them out. If they weren't satisfied with the son-in-law, then the father-in-law and mother-in-law wouldn't be able to invite them out for a long time. This way, the groom would lose a lot of face and wouldn't be able to raise his head in the future. When they arrived at the side hall's entrance, Yang Dingtian pushed open the door and pulled Qin Jiajiao in. On the soft couch in the side hall, the mighty and tall Qin Wanzhou sat on the left side, looking awe-inspiring without being angry. The frosty, arrogant, and beautiful Qiu Shuihan didn't have a trace of a smile on her face, and her gaze towards Yang Dingtian was ice-cold. One person went to close the side hall's door. Although this Qiu Ruhan was Qin Jiajiao's mother, she was even more beautiful than Qin Jiajiao. She wasn't as voluptuous as Madame Shimin, with a sharp oval face and slim curves. Although she was already in her 40s, she didn't look more than 30 years old. However, although this woman's eyebrows were like willow leaves and her lips were like peach plums, she had a delicate and beautiful appearance. But her nose was straight and tall, making her appear cold and arrogant. She was especially high up and wasn't easy to get along with. At this moment, Qiu Ruhan's cold and critical gaze stared at Yang Dingtian as she said in a cold voice, "Jiajiao, why are you wearing a veil? Could it be that the women who go to Qin City have a shameful appearance? Take it off." Qin Jiajiao took off the veil. Her face was red and swollen from the beating and her chin was dislocated. Yang Dingtian stepped forward and covered her chin again. The Northwest Qin City, which was practically the largest force in the world, married their first daughter to Yang Dingtian as a concubine. Now, this rich young Miss face was actually swollen and her chin was dislocated. In an instant, a gust of cold wind blew through the side hall and the surrounding temperature dropped by more than 10 degrees. A wave of cold killing intent instantly filled the air. Qin Wanzhou and Qiu Ruhan's eyes were like lightning as they stared at Yang Dingtian. Qin Jiajiao didn't cry or make a fuss. She directly knelt down and said, "Father, Mother, Yang Dingtian broke into Qin Castle and destroyed the million-caddy heaven-exterminating thorn on the city gate. He injured dozens of nobles in Qin City, killed my sword maid, mother's niece, Qiu Ning. He beat and humiliated my daughter, stripped my daughter naked in front of everyone, slapped me twice, dislocated my jaw, threatened to cut off my tongue, cut it into pieces, and then eat it." Just as Qin Jiajiao finished speaking, all the porcelain in the side hall shattered in an instant. Boundless killing intent instantly scraped Yang Dingtian's neck. "Father, Mother, please uphold justice for your daughter." Qin Jiajiao kowtowed and said with endless hatred, "Father, Mother, please dismember Yang Dingtian into pieces, peel off his skin, break his bones, and burn his bones to ashes." Then Qin Jiaojia placed her forehead on the ground and didn't get up again. Qiu Ruhan's eyes were like thorns as she stared at Yang Dingtian and said coldly, Yang Dingtian, is what my daughter said true? You destroyed my Qin castle's million heaven exterminating thorn? Yes, madam, Yang Dingtian replied. You injured dozens of Qin city's noble disciples? Qiu Ruhan asked again. With every sentence she asked, the cold killing intent in her heart grew stronger. Yes, madam, Yang Dingtian replied. You killed my niece, my daughter's only sword attendant, Qiuning? Qiu Ruhan asked. Her words were as sharp as ice blades. Yes, madam, Yang Dingtian replied. In an instant, Qiu Ruhan stretched out her jade-like hand and a terrifyingly sharp ice blade appeared between her fingers. Her beautiful eyes looked coldly at Yang Dingtian and said, Bullying my Qin city's daughter, then die! Then she stood up and the ice blade in her hand grew longer and longer. The blue color on it became deeper and deeper. At this moment, Qin Wanchou stood up and looked at Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian, my daughter hates you to the bone and wants to dismember you into pieces. How are you going to treat her? Fist and pillow, Yang Dingtian replied. Be more direct, Qin Wanchou said. Beat her, Yang Dingtian said. Beat her until she's obedient, beat her until she's convinced. In an instant, Qiu Ruhan's anger soared to the sky. A ball of blue flames appeared behind her, and shot out like lightning. The ice blade in her hand pierced towards Yang Dingtian. Qin Jiaojiao's face was instantly filled with delight. She gritted her teeth and waited for Yang Dingtian to be dismembered by her mother. At this moment, another figure was even faster. Qin Wanchou directly appeared in front of his wife and blocked Qiu Ruhan's ice blade. He held her hand and put it down. Then, he came in front of Yang Dingtian and patted his shoulder. I originally looked down on you, but now I quite like you. That's how you treat women. Beat her until she's obedient, but when beating your wife, it's best not to hit her face. Your wife's face is also your face. After we get married, hit the place where you can't see, where there's a lot of meat. Yang Dingtian said. Ha ha. Qin Wanchou laughed and said, Tell me the truth, do you hate Qin Jiaojiao now? I hate her, Yang Dingtian said. Then after we get married, do you still want her? Qin Wanchou asked. Yes, of course, Yang Dingtian said. Note, begging for support, begging for votes. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Mobile users, please go to Qidian. Com to read. Chapter 368. Good, you have a bright future. Qin Wanchou smiled. Let's go out and get married. Let me make a big deal while we're at it. Qin City's Madame Qiu Ruhan said. Husband, be but Yang Dingtian killed my niece. Qin Wanchou smiled faintly. There are so many idiots in the Autumn Water Sword sect. What's wrong with killing a few? Qiu Ruhan's expression changed drastically. Her delicate body trembled as she took a few steps back and lowered her head. Qin Jiaojiao looked at her father in disbelief. All along, her mother Qiu Ruhan was very strict with her. It was her father, Qin Wanchou, who doted on her. A year ago, she was punished for contradicting Shenlang, and it was all just an act. Now that she was being bullied like this, her father actually had such an attitude. Her mind went blank, and she didn't care about anything else. She pulled out the jade hairpin on her head and placed it on her neck. She stared at Qin Wanchou and said, Father, immediately cancel my engagement with Yang Dingtian. Otherwise, I will die in front of you immediately. Following that, Qin Jiaojiao used a bit of force and pierced the delicate skin on her neck. Fresh blood flowed out. Qin Wanchou turned around and looked at his daughter. Qin Jijiao's gaze was filled with determination and stubbornness. Father, daughter would rather die than marry Yang Dingtian. Qin Wanchou's gaze constricted, and he said indifferently, Jiao, do you think I dote on you? Qin Jiaojiao cried. Father dotes on daughter very much, so I beg Father to grant my wish. Daughter marrying Yang Dingtian is truly a fate worse than death. Then you must feel that marrying Yang Dingtian is very wronged? Qin Wanchou asked. Yes, Qin Jiaojia said. Daughter hates him. Also, he comes from a lowly background. How is he worthy of daughter? Qin Wanchou sighed. Jiao, do you know why I always indulge you? To let you run amok in Qin City and spread your domineering name throughout the world? Qin Jiaojiao's gaze became even more tender. It's because father dotes on daughter. Wrong, you're wrong, Qin Wanchou said. The reason why I indulge you is because you are the stupidest among all my children. You are destined to have no future, so I don't need to strictly discipline you. The moment he said that, Yang Dingtian also looked at Qin Wanchou in disbelief. As a father, he actually said such harsh words to his daughter. Qin Jiaojiao suddenly trembled as her face instantly turned ghastly pale, and she looked at Qin Wanchou in disbelief. Her vision was dizzy, and her entire body was on the verge of collapse. Without a doubt, her father Qin Wanchou's love was the most important part of her life. Now, with Qin Wanchou saying such words, he felt like the sky was going to collapse. Also, do you feel wrong by marrying Yang Dingtian? Qin Wanchou smiled and said, in reality, he feels even worse than you. Him marrying you is probably no better than eating a poisonous snake alive. You can't imagine how disgusted he is with you and how much he despises you. He's not good enough for you. Even 100 of you aren't good enough for Yang Dingtian. Qin Jiaojiao's body swayed, and she almost fell to the ground. You want me to break off the engagement, or commit suicide? Qin Wanchou said coldly. Then commit suicide. I'll stand here and watch you die, and I definitely won't stop you. After you die, I'll immediately find another daughter, prettier and gentler. I'll immediately promote her to the first wife's daughter and change her name to Qin Jiaojiao to Yang Dingtian. The delay definitely won't exceed 2 hours. Then you can disappear from this world without a sound. Finally, Qin Jiaojiao couldn't take it anymore and fainted. Yang Dingtian went forward and pressed on her philtrum, waking her up. Looking at her frightened eyes and her pale face that had lost all sense of security, Yang Dingtian couldn't help but feel pity for her. Qin Wanchou sighed and said, although you're not smart enough, you're still my daughter. I'll warn you one last time. This husband of yours, Yang Dingtian, might kill his way into Qin City in the near future and take my head. But you'd better be good at being Mrs. Yang. Maybe you'll be happier than your brothers and sisters. With that, Qin Wanchou walked out. His wife, Qiu Ruhan, hurriedly followed. Yang Dingtian gave Qin Jiaojiao a Saint Spirit pill to let her recover some energy, then covered her head with a veil. Don't cover her head. Let everyone see that she was beaten up before, Qin Wanchou said indifferently. Instantly, Yang Dingtian was even more stunned. He really couldn't understand Qin Wanchou, this ambitious and ruthless person. Qin Jiaojiao's beautiful eyes trembled, and she suddenly tore off her veil. She stared coldly at Yang Dingtian, then walked out. The wedding ceremony was in progress. All the guests saw half of Qin Jiaojiao's red and swollen face, and even the palm print on it could be seen clearly. In the beginning, the guests revealed astonished expressions, then quickly pretended that they didn't see anything, but their gazes couldn't help but avoid Qin Jiaojiao's red and swollen face. The wedding ceremony began. 2 of the 4 seats at the top were empty, and Yang Dingtian's elders weren't there. So, they could only be empty. Under Li Gainong's command, the wedding ceremony was about to begin. Right at this moment, the ceremony outside suddenly shouted, Yinyang School's elder, Leng Qingchen, has arrived. Instantly, the scene was in an uproar. All the guests stood up together. Qin Wanchou's face shook, revealing an expression of disbelief. Then, he stood up from his seat and strode out of the hall to welcome them. Yang Dingtian, follow me. Yang Dingtian hurriedly followed. Walking to the entrance of the hall, Yang Dingtian instantly saw a simple middle-aged man slowly walking up the stairs. This person was Leng Qingchen, Dongfang Minmi's senior brother, Leng Ao's father, the son of the previous Yinyang School's principal, and the former successor of the yin-yang school. However, he wasn't very interested in this position. He felt that his martial arts talent wasn't as good as Dongfang Minmi's, so he took the initiative to give it up. He also had another identity, Dongfang Minmi's sworn brother. Yang Dingtian had never seen him before, but he had heard his master, Dongfang Minmi, mention him many times. The sentence he said the most was that if his sworn brother was here that day, Dongfang Bingling wouldn't have chased after him. This person was Dongfang Minmi's closest person in the yin-yang school. Although he had resigned from the position of successor of the yin-yang school, he was definitely the second most important person in the yin-yang school. However, he had been wandering outside for many years in pursuit of freedom, so Yang Dingtian had never met him, and very few people in the world had seen him. However, the legends about him never stopped. Every time someone mentioned that Ling Qiqin had been to a certain place, countless people would flock to that place, hoping to meet this legendary person. After arriving at the entrance of the main hall, Qin Wanzhou directly shook off his wife and Yang Dingtian and quickly walked down. As he walked, he said, "Senior brother Leng, why didn't you say anything if you were coming? I should have at least brought people to welcome you. How disrespectful are you making me?" Qin Wanzhou walked to Ling Qiqin and bowed deeply. Then, he turned around and stood side by side with Ling Qiqin. He even took half a step back and led Ling Qiqin forward. Ling Qiqin waved his hand in response to Qin Wanzhou's respect and said, "Wanzhou, don't treat me like niece Bingling." No. Qin Wanzhou smiled. When Ling Qiqin walked closer, Yang Dingtian immediately knelt down and said, "Yin-yang School's disciple, Cloud Sky City's Lord Yang Dingtian, greets Marshal Entlang." Ling Qiqin stopped and said, "You are Yang Dingtian?" "Yes." "Yang Dingtian." Ling Qiqin went forward and patted Yang Dingtian's head and said, "I didn't get to see Mia for the last time, but you served him." "This disciple doesn't dare," Yang Dingtian said. "A few days ago, I was traveling when I received a secret message from Bingling. She said that you were coming to Qin City to marry Qin Jiaojiao. She was worried about your safety, so she asked me to come over. Qin Wanzhou's heart is black and merciless. He really can do anything, so I came over," Leng Wuchen said. His words were so direct that Qin Wanzhou couldn't help but feel a little awkward. Then, Ling Qiqin said, "I wasn't at the yin-yang school that day, so it caused a lot of misunderstandings and caused you to be expelled from the yin-yang school. But fortunately, the misunderstandings have been cleared up, and Bingling cares a lot about you, which is great. Let me declare that you, Yang Dingtian, are still a disciple of the yin-yang school, and your position is on the same level as Bingling, above my son, Ling Ao. Of course, you will continue to be the Cloud Heaven City Lord." "Yes, thank you, Marshal Uncle." Yang Dingtian cowed out again. "Also, since you are already a disciple of the yin-yang school, if anyone wants to harm you, they will kill you. My yin-yang school won't agree. Although your master is no longer around, there are still a few old bones in the yin-yang school. Even I, your martial uncle, don't have many opponents in the world. So if someone wants to harm you, I will fight them," Ling Qiqin said. "However, you are a disciple of the yin-yang school, but Cloud Heaven City doesn't belong to the yin-yang school. So if someone wants to harm Cloud Heaven City, we won't interfere. Of course, if Bingling cares about you and wants to interfere, I won't stop her." "Yes, thank you, Marshal Uncle." Ling Qiqin smiled and said, "Also, are you still going to compete with Bingling in 3 years?" Yang Dingtian said, "We should still compete, but I don't really care about winning or losing. Previously, I had a lot of misunderstandings about Bingling. She is very impressive, even more so than Master to a large extent." "Haha." Ling Qiqin laughed and said, "Compete, you still have to compete. You are still young and don't understand some things. Bingling is actually not suitable to be the yin-yang school's principal. You are more suitable. However, she is stubborn and I can't persuade her. I have talked to her. If she wins the competition in 3 years, I will support her to be the yin-yang school's principal. If you win, you will be the yin-yang school's principal. Bingling will obediently be your wife and stand behind you to support you. Yang Dingtian was completely stunned. He couldn't help but ask. Then what is her attitude? She didn't say anything, Leng Qingchen said. But sometimes, not saying anything is already saying something. So, do your best. 3 years later, defeat Bingling, marry her, and become the Yinyang school's principal. Then I won't have to worry anymore. Yang Dingtian could only kowtow in a daze. He couldn't say anything for a while. Not only did this Marshal Aunt Leng attend his wedding, but she also told him that if he defeated Bingling 3 years later, he would become the Yinyang school's principal and marry Dongfang Bingling. However, Leng Ao was Leng Qingchen's son. He was also infatuated with Dongfang Bingling. Then what about Senior Leng Ao? Yang Dingtian couldn't help but ask. Leng Ao? Leng Qingchen laughed and said, Bingling doesn't like him. I can't randomly match him just because he is my son. Qin Wanchou looked at Yang Dingtian with a slightly complicated gaze. Then, he said to Leng Qingchen, Senior Leng, the auspicious time has arrived. Let's go in first. Okay. Leng Qingchen laughed and said, Wanchou, maybe when a disaster comes in the future, you will have to rely on your son-in-law. Senior brother, can't you hope for me a little better? Qin Wanchou smiled helplessly and said, Moreover, although I am a little ambitious, I still know what is right and wrong. Evil ways to kill my niece Bingling even though you know that clearly? Leng Qingchen said. If it weren't for the fact that we can't fight, I would fight with you right now. Otherwise, you will really think that there is no one in my Yinyang school. Qin Wanchou laughed and said, But you didn't succeed in killing her. Just you wait. Leng Qingchen said. In a few years, my niece will come looking for trouble with you. At that time, I'm afraid you will really have to rely on your son-in-law. I know your ambition, and I even approve of it. I don't intend to stop you. However, can you be more particular about your table manners? As per Senior Brother Leng's order, Qin Wanchou said. Leng Qingchen looked at Yang Dingtian and said, Little Tian, I know you are very wary of this father-in-law in front of you. I'm afraid you have long seen him as a future enemy. However, I have to remind you that there is an even more dangerous person, Zhu Qingzhu. He is the true devil. You father-in-law and son-in-law should not be in a hurry to fall out with each other. It is more important for you to work together to get rid of this devil. Qin Wanchou and Yang Dingtian looked at each other helplessly. However, Leng Qingchen's suggestion was indeed acceptable. All right, let's go in, Leng Qingchen said and then pulled Yang Dingtian's hand into the main hall. As soon as he walked in, the guests present knelt down and said in unison, Greetings, Elder Leng. Then, Qin Huaiyu and his siblings knelt down in unison and kowtowed. Greetings, Marshal Uncle Leng. Get up. Leng Qingchen helped Qin Huaiyu up and said, Since you are colluding with each other, then make friends with Yang Dingtian. You will not be disappointed. Yes, Qin Huaiyu said respectfully. Leng Qingchen walked in front of Qin Jiaojiao and looked at her swollen face and said, You are the Qin Jiaojiao who is going to marry Yang Dingtian? Qin Jiaojiao was originally domineering and rude, but at this moment, she was completely suppressed by Leng Qingchen's aura and did not dare to be rash. She lowered her head and said, Yes. I asked around a little these 2 days. Your reputation isn't good and everyone says that you are not smart. Leng Qingchen smiled and said, But from what I see now, you are a woman with good fortune. With that said, Leng Qingchen walked over and sat down at the seat of honor, becoming a senior on Yang Dingtian's side. Li Gainong stepped forward and bowed. Greetings, Elder Leng. Leng Qingchen stood up and said, Junior Brotherly, you must not bow. The wedding ceremony officially began. It was similar to the rules on Earth. The first bowed to the 2 moons and 2 suns in the sky. The second bowed to the great god Primal Chaos on the ground. The third bowed to the husband and wife. The fourth bowed to the husband and wife. After the ceremony, the banquet officially began. Countless fine wine and delicacies, delicious fruits, and melons were served up like flowing water. There were 2 seats at the very center. Leng Qingchen and Qin Wanchou sat on the left, and Yang Dingtian and Qin Jiujiu sat on the right. After the banquet began, Yang Dingtian and Qin Jiujiu did not have time to eat and had to carry out a long toast. The first toast was to Ling Qiqin, the second toast was to Qin Wanzhou, the third toast was to Qiu Ruhan, and the fourth toast was to the matchmaker, Li Gainong. These 4 cups of wine had to be toasted first. But the order of the following toasts would depend on the arrangement. Qin City's chief steward cum master of ceremonies, Qin Wanqing, stood up and said, "Next, the first toast of the bride and groom has extraordinary significance. Who wants to get this first toast?" "We all want." Instantly the people below said in unison, "All right then, let's see who dotes on the bride and groom the most." Qin Wanqing smiled and said. Immediately, White Cloud City's city lord stood up and said, "My White Cloud City sends 3 billion gold coins, plus 120 miles of island, plus 352 pieces of bloody black gold. Congratulations to the bride and groom to grow old together." The moment White Cloud City's city lord finished speaking, everyone was shocked. Yang Dingtian was also slightly shocked. Since when was his toast so valuable? 3 billion gold coins, 120 miles of island, and 352 pieces of bloody black gold. Although White Cloud City was rich, they could not take out so many things. They probably borrowed a lot from the Black Heaven sect. Such a high price was definitely not to fight for Yang Dingtian's first toast. It was for tonight's finale, the treasure of heaven and earth, the yin-yang reincarnation crystal. Previously, Yang Dingtian thought that the people of Qin City were unreliable. They actually held the auction of the yin-yang reincarnation crystal on his wedding day. Qi Mingli said that it would be very refined, but he did not expect it to be in the name of the first toast. After White Cloud City's city lord made his bid, the others immediately followed suit. North's World Society, an 800 miles mine and 13 8th grade martial technique manuals. 5 8th grade mystic technique manuals. 3,000 iron warriors and 500 berserk demonic dragons. The Norse World Society was also one of the 9 sects of the world. Although sect leader Song Xiao was not yet a great master, he was very close. If the Northwest Qin City was the overlord of the Northwest and Southwest continents, then the World Society was the overlord of the North. Although their power and territory were not as strong as the Northwest Qin City, they were not too far off. Moreover, the World Society had 2 items that could shake the world. One was the Iron Warriors, a type of puppet warrior that was almost invulnerable. These warriors were soaked in potions and did not know fear or pain. They would definitely obey any orders. Moreover, every Iron Warrior's cultivation was above the great mystic martial master level. It could be said that Qin Qing was drooling at the sight of the Steel Warriors. This was because the Steel Warriors were a powerful army. 3,000 of them were equivalent to more than 30,000 people. The World Society also had another item, the Berserk Demonic Dragon. Of course, although it was called a dragon, it was actually a type of lizard. Hence, it should be called the Berserk Demonic Lizard. This was a very cruel and ferocious demonic beast. Its running speed was very shocking. The World Society had a secret technique that could tame this kind of cruel demonic beast into a mount and let the strongest warriors ride on this Berserk Demonic Lizard. Then they would form the most terrifying demonic dragon cavalry. It could be said that in a simple battle, 500 demonic dragon cavalry could defeat an army of tens of thousands. The demonic dragon cavalry was the trump card of the World Society. It was the greatest treasure that allowed the World Society to dominate the North. Now, in order to obtain the yin-yang reincarnation crystal, the World Society was actually willing to reveal these 2 treasures. Yang Dingtian clearly saw that Qin Wanzhou's body trembled slightly. His eyes suddenly lit up. It was obvious that he was extremely tempted. Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-Splitting City are willing to offer 1,300 square kilometers of land, 100 Yang crystal warships, and 1,000 golden clawed demonic griffins to wish the bride and groom a long life together. When this price was announced, the entire crowd was shocked. Everyone was shocked speechless. Although the yin-yang reincarnation crystal was the most valuable treasure in the world, there was no need to pay such a terrifying price. Ling Qingshan came over and said, "What they want to buy is not only the yin-yang reincarnation crystal, but also the Tiando League's permission for the buyer to build a Xian energy condensation purification formation." So that was it. The Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-splitting city were originally only offering 1,300 square kilometers of land. Now they were offering 1,300 square kilometers of land, 100 yang crystal warships, and 1,000 golden-clawed demonic griffins. This price could be said to have doubled compared to the previous price. The yang crystal warships were a secret of the Cloud Sky Pavilion. They were the treasures that allowed them to dominate the sea. This type of warship had 3 times the speed of a normal ship. It also had several times the attack power. The Cloud Sky Pavilion had the yang crystal warships, which was why they could dominate the sea for hundreds of years. The golden-clawed demonic griffins were the trump card of Earth's splitting city. Most factions would have mounts. For example, Cloud Sky City had floating skates. However, they were very rare and could not form a large army. The golden-clawed demonic griffins were extremely rare large-scale flying beasts. With them, they could form a large flying cavalry army. How terrifying would 1,000 flying cavalry be? Having a flying cavalry was equivalent to having an air force in the Earth era. How shocking would that be? This should be the highest price for the day. Next, it was Yang Dingtian's turn. Chapter 369. Just as Yang Dingtian was about to bid, the World Society, Earth Fisher City, and Cloud Sky Pavilion started bidding again. "Little Tian, you also want this yin-yang reincarnation crystal?" Ling Qingshan asked. "Yes, Martial Uncle," Yang Dingtian replied. "You also want to build a celestial qi condensation purification array?" Ling Qingshan asked. "Yes." Yang Dingtian nodded. Ling Qingshan had traveled the world and seen all kinds of things. There was nothing that could shock her. However, Yang Dingtian's idea still shocked her. Cloud Sky City was undoubtedly in its most difficult time. On the surface, it had 1,000 miles of territory, but in reality, it only controlled less than 200 miles of territory. Moreover, there was not a single Grand Master in Cloud Sky City. Cloud Sky City's name was still resounding in the world, but it was all because of Shimin Wuya's influence. Cloud Sky City's current strength was probably not even in the top 50 in the world. The Cloud Sky Pavilion, the overlord of the sea, and the Earth Fisher City, the overlord of the sky, were both in the top 10 in the world. However, they still had to work together to build a celestial qi condensation purification array. A small Cloud Sky City actually wanted to build one on its own. If not for the fact that Yang Dingtian never lied, Ling Qingshan would have thought that Yang Dingtian was talking nonsense. At this moment, Qin Wanchou also heard their conversation. He looked at Yang Dingtian and asked, "Kid, you also want to build a celestial qi condensation array?" Yang Dingtian nodded. "Are you out of your mind?" Qin Wanchou said. "My Qin city is the richest in the world, but it took us more than 10 years to build this celestial qi condensation array. Your Cloud Sky City is so poor. Even if we give you a celestial qi condensation array, you won't be able to use it." When Qin Wanchou finished speaking, Qiu Ruhan's beautiful eyes revealed a mocking and disdainful look. "Father-in-law, whether I can build it or not is also my business," Yang Dingtian said. "Ha!" Qin Wanchou laughed and said, "Up to you then. But even though you and I are father-in-law and son-in-law, public is public, private is private. Don't even dream about it. I will give you this yin-yang reincarnation crystal as Jiao's dowry. I'm not that greedy. Of course I'll bid." "Father-in-law, you don't need to be biased," Yang Dingtian said. "Oh, that's right, Meng Li is head over heels in love with you. I'm afraid she'll throw all her wealth at you," Qin Wanchou said. "But if you're counting on Meng Li's wealth to exchange for the yin-yang reincarnation crystal, you're dreaming. Although she's rich, no one in this world can surpass her in terms of gold. However, her wealth can't be exchanged for yin-yang reincarnation crystals. You have to be clear about this, Yang Dingtian said. Of course I won't use Meng Li's money. I'll use my own wealth to exchange for this yin-yang reincarnation crystal. Qin Wanzhou immediately sat up straight and said, Now that you've said it like that, I'm really attracted to you. What exactly do you want to use to exchange for it, and what price are you willing to pay? From the looks of it, even if you sell the entire Cloud Sky City, it won't be enough. No hurry, father-in-law. I'll wait until they've finished bidding, then I'll bid, Yang Dingtian said. The World Society of the North offers an 800-mile mine and 13 8th-grade martial technique manuals, 5 8th-grade mystic technique manuals, 5,000 iron warriors, 1,000 berserk demon dragons, 800 miles of land, and 2,000 miles of sea. The elder of the World Society suddenly stood up and roared. Instantly, the crowd was thunderous. Compared to before, the World Society's price had almost doubled. It seemed that this overlord of the North was determined to obtain this yin-yang reincarnation crystal. The crowd was silent for a moment. About 2 minutes later, the elder of the Cloud Sky Pavilion stood up again. The Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-Splitting City are willing to offer 5 billion gold coins, 1,500 miles of land, 300 yang crystal warships, 3,000 golden claw demon griffins, in addition to a 9th-grade beast soul pill. As soon as these words were spoken, the crowd was completely shocked. The Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-Splitting City had increased the price by 2 or 3 times, and added a 9th-grade beast soul pill. A 9th-grade beast soul pill? It was enough to shake the world. In the current world, there was almost no one who could refine a 9th-grade beast soul pill. It could only be left behind from the ancient times. What did a 9th-grade beast soul pill mean? It meant that one could subdue a 9th-grade demonic beast and refine it into a martial spirit. What did a 9th-grade martial spirit mean? It meant that one had a martial Grand Master level martial spirit. Of course, after a 9th-grade demonic beast was refined into a martial spirit, its power would be greatly reduced, but it would at least be an advanced martial Grand Master level martial spirit. What did this mean? This meant that just this 9th-grade beast soul pill could create a top expert in the universe. Of course, it was only a possibility. After all, refining a martial spirit had a certain probability of failure. However, just this possibility was enough to make people go crazy. When the Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-Splitting City announced their price, the elder of the World Society was instantly dejected, his face pale. It was obvious that this price was something they could not surpass. Even if they were willing to give up everything, they could not surpass it. Yang Dingtian could clearly feel that Qin Wanzhou's breathing had become heavier. This price had far exceeded his expectations. Kid, what do you think of this astronomical price? Qin Wanzhou smiled at Yang Dingtian. This price was, of course, an astronomical figure. It had far exceeded the value of a yin-yang reincarnation crystal. Not to mention selling it 10 times, it would not even be enough to sell it 20 times. Just when everyone thought that the dust had settled, suddenly, a cold and feminine voice rang out. My Ning clan of the South Sea is willing to offer a 9th-grade superior mystic skill scroll and a supreme-grade mystic flame in exchange. When these words were spoken, it was as if a storm had swept through the entire venue. Everyone was shocked to the point of trembling. A 9th-grade superior mystic skill scroll? It should only exist in legends. This world had probably not seen a 9th-grade superior mystic skill scroll for 200 to 300 years. Currently, the Yin-Yang School and the Black Heaven sect did not even have a 9th-grade intermediate mystic skill scroll. Mystic skill scrolls and martial skill scrolls were different. For martial skill scrolls, the higher the grade, the better. If you were given a 9th-grade mystic skill scroll, if your mystic meridians were not talented enough, you might not be able to achieve anything in your lifetime. However, mystic skill scrolls were different. The higher the grade, the more powerful the mystic skill scroll. It could be said that if any warrior learned a 9th grade superior mystic skill scroll, no matter how well he learned it, he would be able to defeat an opponent 2 levels higher than him. How shocking was this? Especially for a top expert like Qin Wanchou. Previously, he might not have been a match for Shimen Wuya and Dongfang Minmi. However, after obtaining a 9th grade superior mystic skill scroll, once the battle started, it would be hard to tell who would emerge victorious. Furthermore, mystical skill scrolls would vanish into thin air after learning them. They were completely unique. Not to mention, the Ning clan of the South Sea had a supreme grade mystic flame. A supreme grade mystic flame was not the best mystic flame. However, its value was enough to make the entire world look up to it. More directly, the value of a supreme grade mystic flame was no less than the yin-yang reincarnation crystal. What shocked everyone present was that the Ning clan of the South Sea was not a very powerful force. It was isolated in the sea and was more than 20,000 miles away from the mainland. It was not even in the Tiando League. Furthermore, it was not a powerful force. Everyone present knew very little about the Ning clan of the South Sea. However, they did not expect that they would also come to compete for the yin-yang reincarnation crystal. Hearing the Ning clan of the South Sea's price, everyone turned to look at the bidder. It was a man. However, he was more beautiful than a woman. He was more seductive and feminine. In terms of pure skin, there was probably no woman present who could compare to him. The Cloud Sky Pavilion and Earth-splitting city were just about to be in his hands. However, the Ning clan of the South Sea had interfered. He could not help but say angrily, "If you don't have these things and are only here to cause trouble, what should we do?" The person from the Ning clan of the South Sea did not speak. He directly took out a jade box from his sleeve. He opened the jade box and took out a scroll. Instantly, golden light shot out in all directions. The entire hall was completely enveloped by a mysterious and powerful energy. This energy instantly seeped into everyone's body. Everyone's mystic meridians opened and their energy reserves were filled with thirst. Without a doubt, this was definitely not an ordinary item. This was definitely a superior 9th grade mystic skill scroll. There was no way it could be faked. Instantly, Qin Wanchou's breathing became heavy. It was to the extent that everyone's breathing became heavy. There should be no one who could offer a higher price than the Ning clan of the South Sea. Qin Wanchou regained his composure and said to Yang Dingtian, "Son-in-law, this person's price is already as high as the sky. What's your price? Are you still not going to take it out?" Yang Dingtian was also pondering in his heart. Then, he took out a piece of paper from his sleeve and handed it to Ling Qinchin. He said, "Uncle Master, it's not convenient for me to bid. You can bid on my behalf." Ling Qinchin nodded. After receiving it, she did not look at it herself. Instead, she passed it to Qin Wanchou. Qin Wanchou took the paper without a care. He opened it, and did not believe that Yang Dingtian could give a decent price. There were 3 items written on the paper. The first item was a human skin mask. The second item was an ancient sword. The third item was a thunder mystic talisman. In addition, there was a note: "It will teach a set of swordsmanship." This set of swordsmanship is called the Swaying Calamity Crossing Sword. It is guaranteed that the learner will have a stunning effect. After glancing at it, Qin Wanchou's body shook violently. Then, he instantly closed the paper and did not even let his wife see it. Then, as if he could not believe it, he took another look. Then, he quickly burned the whole paper with mystic fire. Yang Dingtian's bid was not eye-catching except that thunder mystic talismans were rare in the world. Moreover, even if thunder mystic talismans were rare in the world, their value could not be compared with the yin-yang reincarnation crystal. Thunder mystic talismans could probably only be used to mystify and surprise people, unlike the yin-yang reincarnation crystal, which could strengthen a sect. However, Yang Dingtian's real bid was to transfer the ownership of Wuming, the successor of the hidden sect. That human skin mask was the one that Yang Dingtian used to impersonate Wuming. That ancient sword was the ancient sword of the hidden sect. As long as one had thunder mystic talismans, anyone could release thunder mystic talismans. And the biggest symbol of Wu Ming, the successor of the hidden sect, was that he had thunder talent. In addition, the church had the whirling calamity crossing sword that could pass off as the real thing. It could completely display the unique effect of the sword of calamity crossing sword. With these things added together, almost anyone could impersonate Wu Ming, the successor of the hidden sect. Previously, Qin Huaiyu knew that Yang Dingtian impersonated the successor of the hidden sect, but he would never expose it. His purpose was of course for Qin Qing to impersonate the successor of the hidden sect. Because as long as he had the identity of the successor of the hidden sect, he could command the world. If used well, the value would far surpass 8 or 10 yin-yang reincarnation crystals. It would even surpass a supreme-grade mystic fire and a 9th-grade superior mystic skill scroll. However, there were risks in doing so. The risks were extremely high. The benefits were also extremely high. The role of the successor of the hidden sect, Wu Ming, in the hands of Yang Dingtian and in the hands of Qin Qing were vastly different. Previously, Qin Qing could not get these things, so he could not impersonate Wu Ming. Now, Yang Dingtian actually took the initiative to transfer all of them. There was another point. If Yang Dingtian transferred to Qin Qing, Qin Huaiyu did not have to worry about Yang Dingtian exposing it at all, because Yang Dingtian himself had impersonated Wu Ming before. If he took the initiative to expose it, he would be courting death. "Son-in-law, are you sure?" Qin Huaiyu asked. "I'm sure," Yang Dingtian said. "You're using 4 tails to achieve 1,000 caddies," Qin Huaiyu said. Qin Huaiyu said, "However, perhaps you don't know what kind of earth-shattering effect this thing of yours can have in my hands," Yang Dingtian said with a smile. "I've already said that I support some of your ambitions, father-in-law." Then Yang Dingtian said in a low voice, "Father-in-law, you should make a decision. Will you accept my offer?" Qin Huaiyu closed his eyes and fell into a huge decision. Yang Dingtian's offer was extremely tempting, but it was also extremely dangerous. And the Ning clan of the South Sea's offer was a direct benefit. But to the ambitious Qin Huaiyu, Yang Dingtian's offer was truly priceless. Taking a deep breath, Qin Huaiyu smiled at Yang Dingtian and said, "Son-in-law, since your martial uncle Ling Qingqin didn't drink enough just now, let's toast him again." As soon as these words came out, everyone was shocked. Qin Huaiyu actually chose Ling Qingqin's offer. The World Society, Cloud Sky Pavilion, and Earth-Splitting City all looked disappointed. But the Ning clan of the South Sea was calm as if nothing had happened. Everyone present was extremely curious. What price did Ling Qingqin offer to obtain the yin-yang reincarnation crystal? And the most curious one was naturally Ling Qingqin. A trace of astonishment flashed across his eyes. And everyone present was extremely surprised. The yin-yang school already had a celestial qi condensation purification array. Why did they still want the yin-yang reincarnation crystal? The people from the World Society, Cloud Sky Pavilion, and Earth-Splitting City were furious. "Your yin-yang school is already at the top of the world, but you still want to obstruct our path of advancement. Even if we become stronger, it won't affect your yin-yang school's supreme position." In their hearts, the reason why the yin-yang school bid was not to obtain the yin-yang reincarnation crystal. It was because they did not want a 4th school in the world to have a celestial qi condensation array. But no matter how much they grumbled in their hearts, they did not dare to show it. The yin-yang school was supreme in the world. No one dared to offend them. Yang Dingtian raised a cup of wine in front of Ling Qingqin and said, "Martial uncle, please drink." Ling Qingqin took the wine and sniffed it lightly. She smiled and said, "Good wine. But today is your big day. Martial uncle will give you this cup of wine." Then, Ling Qingqin handed the wine to Yang Dingtian. Yang Dingtian took it and drank it. Instantly, everyone present was in an uproar. Ling Qingqin's actions were very obvious. She was giving the yin-yang reincarnation crystal to Yang Dingtian and to Cloud Sky City. Heavens, what kind of capability did Yang Dingtian have? How could he be given such a precious treasure? Ling Qingqin and the yin-yang school were too generous to Yang Dingtian, right? Even though this was not a suitable place to make a ruckus, there were still people who could not help but discuss. Didn't they say that Yang Dingtian was expelled from the Yin-Yang school? Why do they think so highly of him? You don't know. Yang Dingtian and the Yin-Yang school have already reconciled. Previously, Fairy Dongfang personally attended Yang Dingtian's enthronement ceremony. While, in that case, who would dare to look down on Yang Dingtian? Who would dare to bully him? Nonsense. Didn't you see that even Overlord Qin betrothed his daughter to him? No matter what. Yang Dingtian had finally obtained the important yin-yang reincarnation crystal. Furthermore, it was given to him by Ling Qingchen personally. Unless Yang Dingtian was willing to sell it, no one in this world would dare to snatch this precious treasure. This was because this auction was not only for the yin-yang reincarnation crystal, but also for the legal right to build the celestial qi condensation purification array. However, no one present believed that Yang Dingtian and Cloud Sky City could build the celestial qi condensation array. Even if the river flowed backward and the sun rose from the west, Yang Dingtian and Cloud Sky City could not build the celestial qi condensation array. Oh, I understand. Elder Ling is unwilling to offend the world society, Xiantian Pavilion, and Earth-splitting city. He clearly knows that Cloud Sky City can't afford to build the celestial qi condensation array, so he gave it to them. He wants to show that he is not trying to stop the Xiantian Pavilion and the other forces from progressing. Instead, he wants to nurture Yang Dingtian. In fact, he is trying to stop the Xiantian Pavilion and the other forces from progressing. However, his methods are really brilliant. After a certain friend's analysis, everyone nodded in agreement. Realization dawned on them. In short, this yin-yang reincarnation crystal falling into Yang Dingtian's hands was a good outcome for most of the people present. After all, if Cloud Sky City could not build the celestial qi condensation array, there would not be another force that could quickly rise. Ling Qingchen looked at Yang Dingtian. Little Tian, they all say that you are good at creating miracles. Today, I have finally experienced it. I don't know how you will build this celestial qi condensation array, but I believe that you can still create miracles. I will wait and see. Thank you, Martial Uncle, Yang Dingtian said with a bow. All right, the show has ended. You have also gotten what you wanted. There is no need to waste time here. You two can enter the bridal chamber now. Qin Wanchou looked at Yang Dingtian with a complicated gaze. Yes. Yang Dingtian raised a cup of wine and said to all the guests, Everyone, eat and drink well. Cheers! Then, Yang Dingtian drank it all in one gulp. All the guests also drank it all in one gulp. The toast is over. Bride and groom, enter the bridal chamber. Inside the bridal chamber, the fragrance was overwhelming and the candlelight was red. Amidst the ambiguous pink atmosphere, only Yang Dingtian and Qin Jiaojiao were left in the bridal chamber. Qin Jiaojiao stood in the room, motionless and expressionless. Every moment of the night is worth 1,000 gold. Let's not waste any more time. Yang Dingtian said, You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.